Yeah. All right, John, are we ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all right, we're rocking. Okay, good. All right, so for anyone listening to the sound of my voice, number one, I'm sorry. And number two, to explain what this is, first of all, welcome to the Weekend Justice Podcast. But for since roughly the year 1811 at Dragon Con, we did a panel called Make the Bad Men Stop. And then for a while there, we were doing bookend versions of the panel at the beginning and the end of Dragon Con. Because it, saved Lee from having to program another panel. But anyway, but yes, our goal with said panel was to bestow upon an unwilling, sometimes mostly unknowing public the fate the fate that is destined to happen to most things that are an intellectual property, which is they come under the law of relative development. And the law of relative development I have been studying for years and years, and it shows that everything, every television show, every animated series, every comic book, every board game, most magazine articles, every Broadway musical, everything has a film, or these days, television series, in development somewhere, and all existing properties have a remake and or sequel in development somewhere as well. That is the law. It cannot be escaped. The only thing we can hope for is that you get something, 15% as good as John Carpenter's The Thing. And that's 15% of that's actually pretty damn good. So, but yes, so we are here to bestow upon people the knowledge that we have about what Hollywood is going to do to the things that you love dear. So you might want to, get some alcohol and start partaking because it can be therapeutic. But yeah, it is. It is. Oh, that was terrifying. Hold on.
God damn it.
Yeah, wow. What just happened is
My
the
headphones
rights
aren't working.
the
Of
rights
course
to it
this
have
would
been
happen.
purchased by Blumhouse. So it's going to be the
Give me a second here.
Oh god. Oh shit. I really want to see that. I have not seen that. I really want to see that. Has anyone seen that? Weapons?
I haven't
Give
yet.
me a minute.
God, I want to see
Just
it. That
Go
trailer
on,
was so
I'll
good.
figure this out.
Okay, but anyway, so
Isn't that how we always do it?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Just keep doing the same thing we've been doing before.
situation normal. All fucked up.
Weren't you doing this?
So what?
I don't think he can hear us. I think he's in his
That's
own world.
Really? That's funny.
He's saying he's having a problem with his headphones.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But he doesn't have anything connected to his headphones right now. That's why. It's nothing.
Oh,
Here, let me
that
refresh
could
it
be a
for
problem.
There we go. Nope, still nothing.
No, that's not good.
I can't help from over here.
Yep. Oh well. Oh.
But then I won't know when he's back. I did mute him though. Oh, I'm passing out again. Oh.
Don't do that.
When the blood stops running to your brain, that's not good, right?
No, that's bad. If the antifreeze starts running to your brain, that's when you got a real problem.
I should get that checked, I guess.
Probably.
Uh,
And if
Scott's gone
it's
away.
window cleaner, then you have an old Steve Martin movie.
Very nice. So should we
This thermos over here. Anyone want it?
start with the elephant in the room, so to speak, with Marvel and DC? Granted, of course, I have not seen jack shit.
Well, they haven't
So-
released it yet. It was pushed back to 2028.
No, that's Blade. You're thinking of Blade. That's oh Lord.
It's the
I did
sequel to
see-
Jack Skeleton.
Wow.
That
I did
crossed
see,
over with Schitt's Creek.
I did see something.
Sorry, Witch.
I did see. No, it's fine. I saw David Goyer. Somebody asked him about because he did the first Blade, and I think he wrote on all three and wound up directing the third one. But I don't think that was his fault entirely. But said, so what is the Marvel's deal? They can't seem to get the project together. They're running into problems. What do you think? What he said? Would you step in if they asked you to? He said. I mean, yeah. It's like Blade really isn't that difficult a story. It's if you're having trouble cracking it, then something's seriously wrong. Yeah, kinda.
But also, if you get Marshall Ali and you don't let him like have something to, no pun intended, sink his teeth into, then why the hell do you hire him? I mean,
I would think so. Yeah. Well,
and he has said a couple of times that he's not liked the script.
okay.
That was part of it.
Well, that's good. Well, there you go. This is true. This is very true. But I was going to say, we mentioned it before, talking about him getting script approval, is that the day after he got his second Oscar is when he called for a meeting with Marvel. So, and I love the fact that it wasn't the first Oscar. He said, no, I need two. Then I can go talk to them. I appreciate that. I like people with goals. But, yeah, absolutely. And I will say also in the Marvel arena that I am not unconvinced about my Robert Downey Jr. theory. I think it could still be true.
Which theory is that, Widge?
That is the theory that he is not actually playing Victor Von Doom. That he is a smokescreen because they have someone else cast as Dr. Doom and they want to have it a surprise until the film comes out, which you could do if the Russos, who are good friends with Robert Downey Jr., and Robert Downey Jr. loves Marvel. I mean, he wrote, I think I mentioned before, he wrote an afterword in the 10 Years of Marvel giant hardback thing, which was very nice, very, very complimentary, very appreciative, shall we say. That they said, hey, we got this crazy idea. What if we say you're Dr. Doom? And then the person who is Dr. Doom, I mean, when are they not going to be in the suit? You know, maybe for a few scenes beforehand, and then he's in the armor. So if Robert Downey Jr. is not on set, no one's going to think anything of it because he didn't want to be in the armor for Iron Man either. I don't blame him. So it's a theory. It's a theory. I have not.
I think he says that he has only seen jack shit
Yes.
from the Marvel universe.
I'm behind on freaking everything. And I really want to catch up, if for no other reason than they posted on YouTube a video of like a 12-minute video call with Robert Downey Jr. and the actress who's Ironheart. And I watched like the first 30 seconds of it, and Robert Downey Jr. looks so goddamn happy that I'm just like, oh yeah, this is awesome. We're good.
I haven't
think-
watched that yet. But I did see Fantastic Four.
As did I.
And I
Are we
I
pleased
enjoyed
or
it.
frightened? No, good.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. It was a nice. They kind of got back a little bit to the original roots of the way they were building the MCU, the way they were constructing the films in the MCU, I should say, where. Yeah, where it was like, okay, you've taken a genre and you've leaned very heavily into it, but you're telling your story, right? So it was my film school daughter review of it was that, or of the art direction, was that they did a very solid job in the art direction, and it was, they committed to it. They didn't they didn't.
That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have watched a couple of behind the scenes things on YouTube recently, and they're great. I didn't realize while I was watching the film like how committed to round surfaces they were. Like even the stovetop only has 3 eyes to make sure that the stovetop is round. And so it really goes into this sort of like 50s neo-futurism vibe that's just aesthetically really nice to watch. And of course, the faintest praise you can damn it with, it is by far the best Fantastic Four movie we have had. It's certainly the best Fantastic Four movie we've had that wasn't named The Incredibles.
Well, here's what I thought was weird, just from the outside looking in, because I have not seen it yet, is that because I play Marvel Snap, and they have First Steps cards now, including Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, and the artwork looks wrong because Mr. Fantastic doesn't have a mustache. He's had a full beard, but he doesn't have a mustache. It looks wrong. But then I see Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic in the flesh, and I go, oh yeah, that's Reed Richards. I don't know why it is. I don't know why that is, but my brain looks at Pedro Pascal and goes, oh yeah, that's totally Reed Richards. That's how good he is, I guess. I don't know. That's true. That's true.
They've taken Reed back in comics form. They've taken him back to like 80s Reed.
Oh, I could just take my headphones off for a minute. Just wave. Just wave when you're done. What, you're done?
Just wanted to see if it worked.
Just wants to watch the world burn.
I can't hear shit.
Yes, he
Is that a
does.
wave?
He's good. No.
The screen
Okay,
goes.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was so awesome. Oh my god, that was awesome.
Well, and the fact that they filmed Red Ghost and then fucking clipped Malkovich out of it. I kind of love that. By the way, I love the Gatchaman. Is that wallpaper behind you on the computer? I just recently bought.
Tuffley, wave! Everybody, wave!
Okay.
You weren't.
I just recently bought them on Blu-ray. So I've just sort of started going back into that nostalgia.
Yeah, I have to say, the other thing I want to say is that The Thing is the first thing, the live action thing, I've seen that's better than the Roger Corman thing.
Yes.
Because like
Oh,
Well-
he's back.
what was it? The first time where it was Michael Chiklis in an
Yeah,
outfit
that wasn't good. That wasn't
It
good.
just looked like Chiklis had dry skin.
Yeah.
that was terrible. And then the second attempt, I don't even remember that much about it. But then, so it's like, I kept going back and looking at Roger Corman's thing and going, cool. But anyway, so I just want to put out into the world again my proposal that I think is such a good idea. If Marvel were to do this, this is how much it means to me. I would forgive them for Doctor Strange 2, aka Multiverse of Meh.
Mm.
Otherwise known as a movie that I enjoy a great deal.
I know,
I-
and that's cool. I wish I could have been like that,
I
but
don't
I understand.
hate the movie.
well, I
Okay.
urge it. Like I
What-
said,
What's
I don't.
the proposal?
What's that?
What's the proposal?
Oh, well, I just
It's a
said
movie
it's-
starring Bullock, I think.
Oh,
Sandra
Jesus.
Bullock.
I just want to say, apart from JJ, if you don't have to share my opinion about the film, I urge you to watch the film, do the research on your own, and reach the same conclusions by yourself. Anyway, John Krasinski
Thank you.
does not deserve to have that his one shot at Reed Richards.
Oh, that's true.
So I think you bring him back as the maker, and the reason Reed becomes evil is because he got spaghettified and was able to put himself back together, and it fucked up his mind.
Well, they've
Yeah,
been
interesting.
they've been teasing about doing Malice, so maybe that's way they can introduce some evil versions of Fantastic Four.
They're doing what? They're doing.
I've
Teasing
read
what?
Malice.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Malice. I heard meth, and I was wondering where you were going.
Not that. But no. Oh.
Yeah, I hope that, because I know some people are like looking at Doomsday and Secret Wars as just rebooting everything, to which if they tried that, there would be like a 1% chance of it not pissing me off, because part of the reason I enjoyed Endgame so much is they didn't undo it, because the thing in comics is they always undo it. And through the whole thing, I was sitting there going, all right, at the end, Tony's going to have to decide that he has to sacrifice his kid, and they have to put it back the way it was, and they're going to go erase the 5 years. And no, they didn't. And I was so fucking thrilled. I couldn't, because it was like exactly what I didn't expect, because I expected them to return to status quo, and they didn't. And not only did they not, but they created this thing that basically had to be answered for everything about the whole blip, which I really fucking enjoyed. So I don't know how you could reboot it at this point, because, you know,
It's too soon.
what? Yes, absolutely too soon. Okay,
Well, that's
yeah,
because they've sucked.
yeah. I mean, there is that.
That's the problem. No one cared.
I
No,
think
That's why no
that,
one
like,
followed.
I think by rebooting, I think that they're using the language rebooting, but rebuting. Excuse me. I think they're using the language rebooting. But
Rebuking.
I think what they're actually trying to do is give themselves an out to recast, and I think that's different. And
If-
I don't think there's, and personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with recasting. I mean, not only, is that something that would happen in a running thing anyway? But in the comic terms, it's kind of like a new artist coming on.
And they've done it.
God knows.
They've done it in the MCU. They recast Ross. They recast.
Yeah.
I'm blanking.
Banner.
Rhodey.
Yeah. Banner.
Yeah. So it's not unprecedented that they can put in a new actor.
Well, but
I
I think it's fine to put in a new actor. It's just like if you're trying to get Steve Rogers back,
Yeah. No.
I don't want that because I love the fact that actors wanting to go and do other things means that they're going to have to, hand off the mantle to someone else. Because I think, right. Yep. Yeah.
Again, we have the precedent. We have the precedent for it. We could have 10 years later.
Yeah. Well, and what the fuck was that nonsense? Holy shit, that was terrifying. For anyone listening at home, suddenly I was presented with the phantasm of my face. Yeah. I mean, it's bad enough I have to look at myself in real life, much less on here. But yeah, I'm just concerned about it because if they're doing, because originally when the Russos were like, oh, we'll come back if they let us do Secret Wars, I don't think the new Secret Wars had happened yet. I think they were talking about the first Secret Wars, which I thought was a fucking great idea because I really enjoyed that series and would love to see what they did to improve it because they've so far, I mean, they made Civil War watchable, which was amazing.
Well, pretty much by just taking like the basic concept and then tossing out bullshit.
Yeah. And so I have no idea. I mean, I'm here for it, but I'm concerned about it because I don't want, to wake up and, it's, we got a new Steve Rogers and we got a new Tony Stark and we've got, I'm still waiting for Rhodey to become Iron Man. I mean, I don't know why that hasn't happened yet. That's an obvious.
My thing is I hope they take time because to replace those actors, you got to be damn sure of who you're getting, that they're going to be at least as good as the other two.
Yeah. I mean, and then the question becomes, I mean, what do you do with the X-Men? This is because I wish that they had done like the original 5 X-Men and built from there for Fox. But that way if you do that, you have some distance between you and Hugh Jackman. Right. So well, but I mean, you can. You know what? I would prefer that than Robert Downey Jr. Here's the thing. If it is Robert Downey Jr., I don't want him to be a Tony Stark variant. I want him to actually be Victor Von Doom. And in order for that to happen, he has to not look like Tony Stark. So, I mean, obviously.
Well, assuming it's Doom, the face is going to be fucked up, right?
Right, but depending on how you do it, because originally in the comics, Victor wasn't fucked up in the face. But I mean, honestly, you could cast someone else as young Victor and just have Downey under the makeup. You could do any number of things. So, well, that was the thing that yeah, because he did say in interviews that Nolan basically kind of made him strip his craft down and build it back up again. And he feels like he has a much broader range than before. So in that way, I would love to see what he would do with something like Doom, because Doom done properly is absolutely not Robert Downey Jr., you know? So I don't know. I'm just going to be, I'm going to be curious to see what all of the threads that have been left lying around, like, they mentioned that the Shang-Chi's 10 rings are like older than the universe or something. And all these little threads that are just lying there waiting for somebody to pick them up. I'm curious if they're going to address any of that in Doomsday and Secret Wars or what. Because I will say this, that, I mean, part of what impressed me about Endgame is they paid off things that you weren't even waiting, that weren't even a waiting payoff, that you just went, oh, I didn't know that was they just paid that off. They paid that. I didn't even know we were waiting for a payoff. Bonus payoffs. When does that ever happen? So, but anyway, so that is my take on the future of the MCU. Is I am sore afraid. Mostly sore, but also afraid. Really? Yeah. Really?
Yeah, Disney's been very disappointed with the results of that on Disney Plus, which is why they're killing Star Wars live action stories as well. They're kind of finishing up what they already had scheduled, but it sounds like all that's coming to an end.
I but the thing, what does Disney have besides, in terms of new content, besides Star Wars and Marvel?
Well, Well, but
Don't say Secret Invasion around Witch.
but Tuffley, here's a question. Oh my god!
I mean, it's the only Disney or it's the only Marvel thing that's come out that I hated.
It was fucking terrible. But Tuffley, let me ask you a question. How much was the budget for like WandaVision and Agatha? Because that was a lot less, right? Mm. Mm. Okay. 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 Well, because I'm just like, if you are in if you're in some kind of setup system where WandaVision and Agatha aren't considered successes enough to keep going, then your system is fucked because mm, mm.
Well, and
It's okay. You could say it. Secret Invasion. It's just shit. That's all. Mm.
well, and what we're sorry, and what we're finding out with streaming more and more is that the only way to bring money in on a stream, well, there are two ways to bring money on a streamer. There are to keep your audience and to bring new people in.
Oh.
And when you've reached the saturation of what Marvel, Disney movies, and Star Wars are going to bring in as subscribers, then it's a matter of keeping them. And it's cheaper for them to have, say, a mid hit like Thunderbolts than that people are going to keep their subscription to be able to rewatch Thunderbolts, whereas they can save money doing it that way than giving us another season of Agatha all along. Now, the sad thing there is it's not paying attention to what the story needs to be told in storytelling terms. Something like WandaVision or Agatha all along squished down to an hour and a half would be bare bones, whereas we got in both cases we got like 10 hours worth of storytelling, so they were able to unfold it at a much better pace. But it's they found cheaper ways to keep us around, and they can't seem to throw money at it. I mean, if Andor, which is the one, which is the Disney Plus series that's, was the one that was supposed to get them awards and everything, and that can't get them attention, then what hope do we have to have these little weird, quirky, little Marvel shows that are not bringing in new people in big numbers or awards?
Well, yeah, and part of the thing too is you talk about live action series. I mean, if they bring in people to do voices like they did for What If and everything else, then I think that actually that is, to me, that's always been a great idea, because then you're not having to create stuff in live action. You can do anything you fucking want in animation, and it would be fine. But which is fine. Right. Which is fine because we still need Luke Cage, and you know, because he needs to join the fucking Avengers. That has to fucking happen. But yeah, so that's my only thing. The one thing I like about sort of transitioning to the DCU, the one thing I like about what James Gunn has said is that he's not doing a fucking thing. He says until the script's done. He's like, until they're happy with the script, it's not happening. In fact, somebody was like, why is there a Clayface movie coming out? And he said, before anything else, he said, Mike Flanagan showed up. He said, I've got this crazy idea for a Clayface movie. Pitched it. We said, go do it. He turned the script around and we love it. So we're ready to go with it. And I'm like, thank fuck. Because, you know, so many of these, they go into it with like maybe half a script. And they're trying to figure it out as they go. Mm. Mm. Well, yeah. Well, and of course, part of the thing is that I know that with Endgame especially, they had everything under such lockdown that the stuff that came afterwards, they didn't even quite know what had happened like in the timeline before them. So they were a little bit lost. That doesn't forgive the piece of shit Spider-Man movie, but you know, it sort of helps explain it. But anyway, but yeah. Well, real quick before we get into DC, I saw something pop up where someone was asking about Cruella 2.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I know about that is it's in development and has been for a few years. Yeah, there it is. But I don't think there's a date yet. I don't even know if there's a script yet. But oh. Oh. Yep.
More. Jungle Cruise 2 Cruise Control.
That's what I was thinking. If they called it Cruise Control, I'd be down.
Wow.
Yeah.
The problem with a Cruella 2 is, are we going to turn our hero into a villain? How do you transition to what the movie is? Yeah, I mean, are we going to show her villain arc? Is that going to be what people want to watch?
If they bring back Liam Neeson for it, then I'm all in.
Fuck yeah.
So,
she goes into some sort of modified Lazarus pit as Emma Stone and comes out as Glenn Close.
I love everything fucking about this. It's great. So anyway, that's what we know about Cruella 2. It is in development hell at the moment. I don't think anything else is.
I don't know how you could easily.
I mean, that's part of the thing about the live action series on Marvel is that apart from Andor, which I've only seen bits of, which I've heard nothing but good things about it being extremely well written. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've heard.
Really good.
And the bits I've seen of it are amazing. Mm.
Yeah, which is why I haven't
Yeah,
been able to finish
yes.
it.
But it's like, I wonder why, because like you could tell it's like Secret Invasion was a piece of shit. It was not written well. I don't know what they were thinking, especially when they spent that much money on it. I mean, somebody was obviously, I mean, they needed to do an audit to find out where that money went because Jesus Christ. But if
there's a whole lawsuit with Bob Chapek and stuff going around that if any of that sauce comes out, we may figure out the creative accounting on that stuff.
Wow.
But,
okay.
Yeah, a lot of this is they're pitting a lot of this on like, so when Bob Chapek took over from Iger, one of the things they did was reorg the Disney chain so that everything came out of Disney Plus. Movies, TV show production, all of that. So for example, what they did was for let's say a Disney Channel original movie, right?
Right.
That they only, or better example, Mighty Ducks. When they did the new Mighty Ducks show, they aired the episodes once on the Disney Channel, and the Disney Channel was billed for production.
Okay.
And then they put it on, and then it was supposed to be on Disney Plus. Because it was budgeted to be a show that aired on broadcast television with broadcast advertising money.
Right.
That it was supposed to make, and it didn't make any of that. So, because broadcast shows are billed differently from how shows meant for a streamer would be billed.
Right.
Or built, or a budget, because the budgets are different.
Right.
Which is, I guess, to jump way topics is like what they're talking about when Resident Evil got canceled, or Resident Alien just got canceled, which was that, the show wouldn't work on a streamer because it's just not budgeted that way. You'd have to lose like half the cast and half the budget to do it. Because the budget for broadcast is larger because you think you're going to make that money back.
Right.
But it's the same theory.
Okay. So, but anyway, so for the new DCU, does anyone have any thoughts on that? I find it interesting that Gunn has said there will be a Batman in the regular DCU, different from the Batman. Yeah.
Yeah, they keep saying that.
He
He said that a couple. He keeps saying that.
You think that's going to change?
Are they going to spend the money? He's like, are they going to spend the money to set up an entirely new Batman, an entire new thing? Or are they just going to?
Okay. So the theory is they've got the Brave and the Bold, which has been set up to be, if I understand the current version of the pitch correctly, it's supposed to be Batman and Damian Robin.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be that story.
Okay.
Whether that actually happens or not, they still want to work that out more.
Right.
Whatever that means.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the Batman 2, he also stopped talking about because Matt Reeves asked him to stop talking about it. And apparently that script is finally done. So they've They've mentioned, everyone's mentioned the script is finished, and that's the last word anyone has ever said on it.
Okay.
I think they asked Colin Farrell if he was going to be in it, and he said he didn't know because he hadn't seen the script yet. He thinks he's kind of into, but he doesn't know. So some of the actors have not seen the script yet, but apparently the script is done.
Okay.
Well, and it's been made pretty clear that Matt Reeves has had some sort of like family crisis or something
Yes.
going on, that he's like, sorry, this Batman movie might be important to you guys, but I'll get to it when I freaking get to it.
Yeah.
And so, but I also know, in order to do a Damian, especially if you're doing Damian Wayne as the third Robin, that means you're automatically having a Batman who's 20 years older than your Superman, which is, interesting, but it's an odd choice.
Well, they've established that Superman is kind of the new kid on the block. There have been superheroes going around for a while. So couldn't they have an older Batman?
I mean, anything's possible.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. But that would be an interesting take on it, because
I would at
they've
least
usually
say that,
been the same age relatively in
Yeah.
like comics and stuff.
well, I will say that if it's Damian, who is, as again, I'm not entirely familiar with the character. I've read not the Batman books, but Batman adjacent books in which he's played a part. But he's like assassin trained or something crazy like that, and he's So I'm like, if he's tiny assassin who's actually Bruce's son, that makes a lot more sense than I'm going to adopt this kid and then put him in a costume and then put him in lots of danger. Even if he is, like in the case of Dick Grayson, tiny trapeze artist or whatever.
I think Gunn did sort of talk about, I kind of do want the Bat family in. So I kind of do want all those characters in. So yeah, there may be a reference made to there having been previous Robins. So maybe we get that, maybe we don't. But he has, in a previous, when he's previously talked about the subject, he said, I might want to have the Bat family in, but got to get there. So
yeah.
I mean, to have Damian, though, don't they have to introduce, however you pronounce his name,
Ra's al Ghul?
Italia? Yeah.
I would say you have to introduce Ra's al Ghul about as much as you would have to introduce Lex Luthor. I mean, he's just kind of known. If they just were like, hey, this movie's happening and you were raised by Ra's al Ghul, that the audience goes, okay.
Yeah. And I mean,
and also another opportunity for Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And Glenn Close, fuck it.
Yes.
She just comes crawling out as Cruella de Vil in every movie.
Good Lord. I will say though, it would be kind of cool if it was like Ra's al Ghul was a presence that didn't show up until later.
Or you just hear his voice, which again could just be Liam Neeson's voice.
Could be anybody's voice.
Yeah.
Yep. So, no, I don't know. It's interesting. I also, I've yet to see Superman. I did watch Creature Commandos, which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah.
That
was fun.
Mostly because of David Harbour being insane.
Couldn't tell you the implications of any of it because I don't know DC that well, but God, that was fun. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. So I'm curious to see, because I would love to see a second season of that, but also if they are going to.
I think that's already been worked on and is coming out soon.
That's cool. But yeah, so I would love to see some more of that. But yeah, it's very early. There's still plenty of time to cast the Zack Snyder Justice League as the crime syndicate. I'm just saying that would be fucking perfect. Anyway.
It would. I doubt. There's some cast members I don't think would be happy with that. I think you could get Cavill pretty easy, though.
Yeah, I think you could. I think you could.
Affleck, not
And
so
a
much.
quick non spoilery review on Superman, by the way, is
Yeah.
because this is just a fun sentence to get to throw out there. I was talking to my therapist about what would make a good Superman movie, and I was like, all I want from a Superman movie is to know that if I was a little kid, I'd come out of the movie theater and would want to tie a red towel around my neck and run around the house.
That's good.
This is that Superman movie.
That's good.
I love that.
That was great.
I just love the video that James Gunn's dog, who was the model for Crypto, whenever sees Crypto on the screen, wants to kill it. Just goes ape shit. I think that's great. Doppelganger. So, okay. Well, that's. I mean, that's.
And then Peacemaker is coming. Is
Thursday.
it Thursday? Yeah, Peacemaker.
As we
Peacemaker.
record this, it will be Thursday.
Yes,
2
as
days
we
from now.
record this. Depending on where you live when you get this, you may be able to watch more than that.
Okay. Well, speaking
Your timeline may vary.
speaking of Marvel adjacent, Tuffley, is the Spider Sony universe done yet? Are they done? Are they
I
done,
don't know.
Tuffley?
I don't know.
Make them be done.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. They still have access to those characters.
They do.
And the reason they had to throw those things out is because Tom Holland and Marvel took a little longer to negotiate that contract last go round.
Mm.
That's your first part.
Okay.
The second part is the Spider-Verse movies. They're part of the reason you're getting Brand New Day next year
Mm.
is because the Spider-Verse movie got delayed and they had to push that up.
Mm. Okay.
So that got pushed up. That wasn't supposed to happen yet, but that got pushed up. So
Yeah, I saw production started on that just like a few days ago.
yeah, so Sony is keeping their clock wheel going. So some of the moves they make is for part of the reason they do is so they keep that.
Mm.
So that's yeah. I think they've gotten smarter about it.
Really?
Maybe. I don't know of anything other than the Spider-Verse movies, Spider-Verse related things, and like the 2 other Holland Spider-Man films that are going to happen after this one. I don't know what else they have in the pipe, but I think there may actually be Spider-Verse spinoffs. So that could be it.
Well, we've got Spider-Man Noir coming.
Yeah.
Which that actually I'm okay with because, it's going to be Cage and
Playing Cage in a Spidey suit.
yeah, that's one of my favorite stories ever is the directors of Spider-Verse trying to figure out how to tell him that they wanted him to crank it up. And he just said, so you're saying you want the full Cage? And they were like, yeah, that's exactly what we want. That's okay. I love it.
But yeah, I don't think you're going to get does this mean you're never seeing another Madam Web? I don't know. It
It's a
depends on
Scorpion movie.
It depends on how desperate they get and where something else is in the production cycle. Because again, Tom signed up for this one, Brand New Day, and 2 more live action films.
Right.
And then they've got the associated Spider-Verse stuff. So if they can keep those out in a cadence and people still care about those things, then they don't have to resort to doing the other things.
Right.
I mean, I think since they're filming Brand New Day now, I'm assuming that means that Tom Holland's probably not in Doomsday, which I do think that if you do actually have Robert Downey Jr. playing Doom and not having Spider-Man, Tom Holland's ability to act hurt so beautifully. If you don't have Holland be the first one to recognize that it's the face of Tony underneath the mask, I think that you are really throwing away a beautiful screen moment.
I mean, he could still be in it.
Well,
Yeah,
it's also
good.
the thing of if you think about Infinity War and Endgame, there were characters that were central in Endgame that weren't in Infinity War.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they haven't really talked about Secret Wars that much and who's in it. Probably
Spider-Man's
for
gonna
that
get
reason.
dusted again.
Yeah. So probably my guess is whoever you're thinking is not in the one film is probably in the other one, but we're not talking about that yet.
Yeah.
Also, because
And-
they're still making Doomsday and they don't know the answer to this, so they keep adding people.
Yeah.
So
the one thing now is that there's so many goddamn people that you could bring other characters in and just not tell anybody their cast, and we would be surprised because there's so many people now.
for a second, the whole thing
Yeah.
with the chairs and all of that, and in the back of your head, I don't know if you did this when you saw this, but in the back of my head, as they're doing the thing with the chairs, because you had time to think about it if you were watching it in real time. But the calculation I was doing in my head, because I saw some of the cast members and I'm aware of some of the other cast members' schedules, I'm like, they're only in this for 5 fucking minutes. Because like that person's shooting a TV show, that other person's doing 2 different reality shows in 2 different countries. There's no way they're in this film for more than 5 seconds.
Alan Cumming is barely in
Yeah.
this thing.
Although, as a side note, I did love the very brief discussion that him and Pascal had when he was hosting Kimmel about whether or not they had a fight or not.
Oh, I've heard the rumor of the fight. I didn't know this conversation.
Flicked it back on him when he asked the question, because he's like, did you get a call from Marvel when you said that? He goes, yeah, I got a call from Marvel when I said that. So did we actually have a fight, and they sort of like did a whole joke about that,
Nice.
where Cumming had said something and he probably shouldn't have said it, and that's why they don't tell him anything anymore. You've joined that club, have you?
Yeah.
Now, I will say, with everything being so continuity heavy, I would love it if Secret Wars was not based on the Hickman Secret Wars, but based on the old Secret Wars, to where they just go ahead and make a standalone movie, just throw everybody on a colorful world and have them fight.
Like, how do we know that's not what that is?
I would
I would
absolutely
love
be
it.
down with that. Like I said, when the Russo brothers first left, they said the only way we'll come back is if they let us do Secret Wars. I'm pretty sure the Hickman Secret Wars wasn't even a thing at that point. So,
Like, my nutty theory is, how do we know that the Sentry isn't the Beyonder? Because
Well,
for those of you who saw Thunderbolts, the way they set that up could clearly possibly be a Beyonder setup.
he doesn't have the perm, though.
He doesn't
I know
have
enough
the
of
perm.
that. I know enough of that. He's got to have the perm.
Oh, he does. He
Maybe-
does change hair though, so you know.
They have said
could
that
be a
they're
tower.
talking to Robert Downey Jr. to continue to do work. Maybe they'll just have Robert Downey Jr. as the Beyonder.
That and Jerry Mathers as the Beaver. Awesome. That'd be great.
Just have the thing where he cuts up Claw work. And so then the Beyonder goes into Doom, and Doom becomes the new Beyonder.
Well, he tried that
Oh.
at the end of Secret Wars, so the comic.
Yeah, that's why I
But
said
then-
it
but-
worked.
Yeah.
But then Holland has to be in Secret Wars, because how does he get the
does.
black suit otherwise?
Hmm.
Then you do the next movie with him in the black suit, and that's how you get Venom.
At least we know Tom Holland can actually dance.
True.
Unlike that shit. What's his face did.
Hmm.
No,
Right.
it's still Tom Hardy's voice. Fuck it. It's still Tom Hardy's voice, even if it's not. Even if it's.
Yeah. So I have this habit now of watching like the shittiest movies possible on a plane, because I'm like, well, I'll watch them, especially if they're like Sony versus Spider-Man movie, movies, because I
Yeah.
know I won't watch them in real life. But if I'm on a plane, I'm like, well, I'm half-ass curious because I have a history with the characters, and but I don't really want to watch them. It's how I watched Madam Web, and
Oh,
it was
God.
for a plane. It was hilarious, but it was a bad movie. But it's also how I have managed to see the first Venom and the third Venom, but didn't watch the second Venom. The third one is deliriously, it's like you took Mad Libs and threw them in a blender,
Mhm.
and then put like the worst you have an actor like Chiwetel Ejiofor giving the stereotypical army man dialogue, like, we have to gather all the forces together and all of that. You just waste his ability, his Oscar winning abilities, to have the stereotypical role. It was, I don't know, I found it to be a bizarre, funny acid trip of a movie that I didn't hate, but I certainly didn't like.
If I'm not mistaken, going back to what we were talking about Blade, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Tom Hardy and his manager have credits on the screenplay.
Okay.
So
And I will say about Venom, I think Kim put this best when she talked about it, and I think she may have done it on this program when she was on it. That the secret to Venom is if you understand that it's actually a film about Tom Hardy's love affair with himself. And that explains everything.
JJ, my theory is that you are watching these films on a plane out of feeling like that you need to do some sort of penance for the environmental damage of traveling via plane. So
Anyway,
No, I think it's because I have been a comic book fan for long enough and have had a generous enough lifespan that I remember when all comic book movies were Madam Web, and so I still have this
At
morbid
best.
curiosity
At
to
best.
watch. Yeah, so I still have this morbid curiosity to like just to poke the corpse with a stick and
Yep.
see if it moves.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it's a part of my brain that I can't cut off, but I'm like, well, if I'm on a plane, I'm like, well, I'm here anyway.
Yeah.
Madam
Yeah.
Web reminded me of like the old CBS late night movie.
Wow.
Like they just throw any shit on for like 2 hours because they just didn't have anything else, which they may be going back to be honest. But
I mean, Madam Web was better than the Peter Hooton Doctor Strange movie from
Yeah,
like
see, that's what I'm saying.
okay,
Back in the day, we would have loved a Madam Web. We would have begged for a Madam Web.
oh
You
yeah.
know? That's why I think it's very important. If there are any parents within the sound of my voice, again, number one, I'm sorry. Number two, I really think it's important that you show your kids like the Captain America movie. Like you show them like the Trial of the Incredible Hulk, so they can see Daredevil and like Thor, what they were.
we've been eating good at this buffet for 20 years.
I know
Yeah.
but I'm like they will so appreciate. Number one, they will appreciate what they've been given so much more, I think. And number two, they will understand why you're so fucked up in the head a bit more.
Back in the day, I thought John Rhys Davies as the Kingpin was like the epitome of cool. I thought we would never see a Kingpin that cool again.
Like this is the really good, like in terms of buffets, this is like the really good Brazilian steakhouse versus
Yeah.
Golden
Absolutely.
Corral.
versus Golden
Corral,
Corral. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very true.
That's
grew up on
where we've been
Silver.
at.
Yeah.
I am not to blame if anyone's hungry after this.
Yeah, just show them the Captain America movie where he's running and the wings on his thing are flapping while he runs, and
Oh, are you talking about the old Matt Salinger one where he had the
Yeah.
rubber ears?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking Reb Brown when he had the fucking motorcycle helmet.
The motorcycle
no,
helmet, yeah.
So there's just something about those little wings on his head flapping while he runs that you just go, oh Jesus.
And the Red Skull was Italian.
Yeah, that's true. It's true, folks. But anyway,
And
sure.
Ned Beatty referred to him as the Submariner at one point as well in that movie, which just killed me.
And even the off-brand ones. There was the whole series of Italian exploitation off-brand ones, like Boomerman.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Best MST ever.
Toughly, you're probably
Fucking
best,
Boomerman.
you're probably best suited to answer this one because I was
Yeah.
looking into it, and has anything at all happened with this supposed Hasbro shared universe that they were talking about doing?
Here's an interesting story with that.
Do tell.
Well, okay, so I think the last time we touched this,
Yeah.
Hasbro was deep within the glow of having purchased E1, having bought a movie studio so that they could take their toys, their literal toys, and keep them in their own house.
Right.
Here's what happened with that.
Oh.
They decided to co-fund the Dungeons and Dragons movie during the
Which
pandemic.
one?
Honor Among Thieves.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which,
The good
to
one.
be fair, was very good.
Mhm.
The problem is they put it in theaters as people were starting to remember what the outside world looked like, and were still kind of afraid to go out in it. So the business wasn't quite back yet. We weren't quite there yet. So this kind of good movie came out. It did all right, but it didn't do what Hasbro expected it to do, which is, be a major tentpole, be a big film, and more importantly, drive those sales back to Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
That's had a bang-on effect on Dungeons and Dragons. Although the game, the digital properties, and all that other stuff, a couple of things happened in the middle there, which had something to do with the film and had something to do with, the economy of, the Dungeons and Dragons products that were released after that had absolutely nothing to do with the movie. And part of that was Wizards of the Coast shooting themselves in the foot.
Right.
That also happened. But they also made plans with Paramount to do a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons things based on Honor Among Thieves. They were going to do a cartoon, and they were going to do another live action series for Paramount Plus. Those things also required co-production money from E1. Unfortunately, because the film didn't do what it was supposed to do, or what Hasbro wanted it to do, they sold the film studio. Because they decided, oh, okay, we understand why we let other people do this shit now. So they sold the film studio. And I think part of the thing was, too, they were expecting to get the rights back to Transformers at some point, which they still don't have.
I assume that's a thing where, similar to what we've talked about before, where if Michael Bay keeps cranking them out, he has them. He has the rights.
Well, if I understand it correctly, that's a question for Paramount's new management, because I think Bay pitched a new Transformers and they turned him down. So, So I don't know if that's because, he's too expensive or Paramount thought that was too expensive. Although, as a side note, if you've been looking at any of the deals Paramount's been doing in the last 2 weeks after the new ownership took over, you would swear they have money, and they don't.
That's just. Can I just say
Yeah.
that the South Park
Yeah.
thing is so fucking funny. I cannot even deal with how fucking funny that is.
How much would
And-
you like? I know you're terrible at math. I'm terrible at math. But if you take the $1.5 billion they've collectively given Trey and Matt,
Yep.
And even if you don't count the back catalog, if you only
Yep.
divide that by the 50 episodes they're contracted to make
Mhm.
in the next 5 years, if you do a per episode on that,
Yeah.
1.5 billion by 50 episodes. I don't know if I would have paid that much per episode for South Park. I don't know if South Park's worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 million an episode. I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd pay that. I'm not sure if they're ever going to make that money back. They probably won't.
I was wondering about that. I mean, what I don't understand. Is it like making money
the
on
first thing is, I guess South Park makes money for somebody. And the merchandising is still a thing, and they make enough off of it.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, and you know, the larger conversation about the streaming economy and television. One of the things that kind of hurt Paramount in the last couple of years, they had a little show called Yellowstone, and they sold the digital rights to that show to somebody else. They sold that to Peacock.
Mhm.
So, like, the whole time they had Yellowstone, the whole time the Yellowstone phenomenon was happening, Peacock got to make all the money from that because they had the rights to those episodes. And John is really enjoying me saying Peacock a lot. I just noticed that. But so I think part of it is Paramount's so afraid they're going to lose something else, like they lost that show, that they did not want Trey and Matt going somewhere else. They didn't want even a piece of that going somewhere else. And that's probably why they overpaid for that. Now, why they're giving UFC $8 billion? Who the hell knows?
Wow,
who
I didn't
knows?
even know about that deal.
Yeah, they're giving UFC's jumping. I think UFC exclusive stuff is jumping from like ESPN to like to Paramount and CBS over the next couple of years. I think that's happening. Some of that may include some UFC cards on broadcast, which God was their goal. God, was it ever UFC's goal to get on broadcast? And Disney owned ABC was never going to let that happen. So they've achieved that. They're going to achieve that apparently. And that's the thing. By the way, and Rob and I had a panel at DragonCon a couple of years ago that was not this under this series, but was kind of this, where we had talked about, or where I had mentioned, like, okay, if you want to know what's going to happen and how much money your favorite shows are going to get in the future, you might want to start paying more attention to like these sports deals, because that's where the money's going to go. And you know, so far that's where the money's going. I mean, we're talking Apple's going to give F1 $150 billion for the US rights to carry Sky TV's coverage of F1 races. I mean, that's going to happen. You've got several different media entities throwing money at the NBA, way more money at the NBA. You've got the NFL deals coming. So if you want to know, like off the top, if your favorite show gets canned because it costs too much, they're going to have to give a couple of extra $1 billion to the NFL. That's why. That's what's going to happen. But that's the environment. That's what this is going to be. But that's just a curious thing that popped up for all of that.
Huh. See, the thing that
it's all connected in a horrible Marvel non-universe way.
Well, the thing that kills me is that you have so much of the industry seem to pretend like you had all these critics and writers who were talking about the box office failure of films when, like, in the middle of the pandemic, and they never put it into the context of, well, this didn't do well because nobody wanted to go to the cinema because they die, you know.
Well,
they
and like I
real
said, that's
films.
exactly what happened with the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other movies that kind of fell into that.
Yeah.
I think the only things that have been bulletproof up until Megan 2.0, and I'm not sure how they fucked that up. I'm sure
wait,
someone
did
has theories.
Did they fuck that up?
Oh yeah,
it
yeah, they
It's
fucked
weird.
that up.
Oh, okay.
and
Wow.
they probably did they break their formula and spending
They threw a lot of money at that, and they really
See,
fucked that up.
they fucked that up because it's Bloomberg. Blumberg.
Blumhouse, yeah,
Blumhouse. God.
yeah.
Their big thing was they only spent so much.
Bloomberg horror is a completely different kind of horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is horrific.
We're living
though.
it today.
Yeah. But
That's the
Blumhouse-
Berkshire Hathaway horror.
Only spent so much. So if something did bomb, it didn't cost them a ton
Yeah.
of money.
Oh, you mean they were smart? Well, they were
Yeah.
smart because what was it like? I looked that up, and what was it? The Invisible Man was like that they did was like $7 million budget,
Yeah.
and then Wolfman was like $25 million budget.
Oh wow, that's a lot for them.
But it is a lot. And they're doing the next one is The Mummy,
Yeah.
and
But basically, horror films up until, well, and Megan 2.0 really wasn't a horror movie. But
Yeah.
horror movies had been like the bulletproof genre, even more than like the superhero films were, because more of them were coming out and they didn't have to make as much.
well, yeah, and so and part of it too was that you back in the day could make a horror movie for next to nothing and then run around selling the international rights to various places.
Yeah.
And then, break even just off of that, so everything else is gravy.
I mean, that's like Blumhouse and A24's business model. Like, make these smaller movies and then either that or buy them off a distributor and cover the distribution in like America and then sell it off somewhere else. I mean, that's their whole business model.
A24 also has the great advantage. It's catching up now, but A24 had the advantage of the last like roughly year of being the only movie that when the strike was going on negotiated with the actors and writers and was able to keep going.
Yeah.
So they flooded the market when and that with a, like you were saying, a fairly bulletproof form of filmmaking, and boy have they cleaned up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's excellent.
And they also had the output deal with Apple. They had the Apple. They were doing. They had the weird window where it was Apple TV exclusive and in theaters, and so they had the weird window on that they were doing as well.
Apple TV, the streaming service that has something on it that you probably should see, but nobody has.
Nobody has. Soon to be home to F1.
So
But
okay.
like
well,
I
that
said,
was-
Megan 2.0 was just, I mean, I don't know what they were thinking with that.
Well,
I mean, I get
guy from
wanting to
Blumhouse-
emphasize the sassy bitchiness of it, but they just went, I don't know.
so the head of Blumhouse, actually, I think there's a blog post about this that he put out that was like, he raised his hands and that, we fucked up with that. And explained like, he literally said, I think we thoroughly misunderstood the property and what people saw in it and thought we could make this pivot for this movie and go big on it and thought it would pay off, and it didn't. Which is kind of a rare thing for somebody to do, that the head of a studio going,
exactly.
we screwed up with that, and here's how we screwed up with that. But I believe it may still be up, but I believe there was some sort of Blumhouse, I think there was a blog post or something about that where he went into like, here's why we did what we did with Megan 2.0 and probably why it didn't work.
Huh. That's fast. I need to go. I want to go read that because that, like you said, that is extremely rare. Because normally, as we've discussed, on many a Make the Bad Men Stop, it's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
the genre is tired.
the genre's tired, or we didn't have Batman in it. I mean, there's usually just
Or
something.
Wolverine.
Or Wolverine. So, okay. And you know what's weird is speaking of Hasbro, when I looked at the status of the Monopoly movie, because the Monopoly movie is the example that we usually throw out to people, which finally got some attention in the media like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I could have sworn they still said Ridley Scott was attached, but it looks like, at least according to Wikipedia, which is always right, it looks like it's been like restarted like 5 or 6 times
Yeah. There's
since Ridley's had it. So
and again, it's the rule of, okay, if we just keep turning it around and developing it, we keep the rights. And is it still at Paramount? Is it Paramount still has it? Sort of?
I don't
Because they're doing the
so.
same thing with G.I. Joe and Transformers. They've got a couple of things in development, but they're not committing to anything. But as long as they keep something in development, they keep all of that.
gotcha. So yeah, I think right now, okay. It's I think it's Lionsgate that has it,
Okay.
because Margot Robbie's company.
Okay. Yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's apparently still, they're still trying to figure out what to do with that. Which, I mean, I'm kind of sad, because the idea of Ridley Scott doing that made so little sense that I wanted to see it. I wanted to go somewhere on a plane with JJ and watch it.
No, you didn't. You just wanted Alien Monopoly.
I probably have Alien Monopoly. Do you know how many versions of Monopoly I have?
Yeah, I know for a fact how many versions of Alien Monopoly. I've been in your house.
Yeah, you know, but I may not have Alien Monopoly, which means I need it.
All right, doing a Google
Anyway.
search.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably exists. But you know what? That can segue us into talking about Alien and Predator.
Does that segue us back to asking what Tuffley thinks about Fantastic Four, so we can record the first half of the show again with his ADR?
Oh God. Tuffley, did you see the message?
No, because I was just messaging you.
Oh God.
He hasn't heard.
Yeah,
he hasn't heard the bad news of all the extra work he's gonna have to do later.
Yeah, we lost the first 45 minutes of audio of you, dude.
Just you.
Oh, really?
Just you.
Just me?
Everyone else is fine.
Fucking
Okay.
sunspot activity. That's gonna be.
Oh,
that's gonna
you
be
know what you can do? No,
What?
no. Here's what you do. Like,
Tell me.
what
Tell
you
me.
do is like you have the robotic like Daft Punk voice. Just
Oh,
fill in
yes.
whatever
We can
stupid pun you want me to say.
We can ask ChatGPT to just answer the questions for
Oh
us
Jesus fucking Christ!
and have it read it back to us.
Oh my God.
Like sexy Daft Punk.
What would Tuffley say in this situation?
That's it. What is it that you know? Just like with Megan, it's Tuffley. It's an acronym. We need to figure out what it. We need to figure out what it stands for.
Thanks. By the way, thanks, Emo DM in the chat who alerted us
thank
to
you.
the fact that otherwise we would have gone through the whole thing without having any Tuffley.
Yeah, it'd been like, wow, Tuffley was dead the whole time and they didn't know. Ah, what was that?
That was my fault. I was going to play a joke and I screwed up. I forgot that
Oh,
it was
yeah.
all feeding through.
Okay, no worries.
That was all me.
I was doing miming. I was miming.
So
Everyone knows what you think already, Tuffley. Don't just,
Tuffley
I
will
was
be
trying-
played this evening.
I was
Oh,
trying
it's
the
just
Stephen
nothing-
A. Smith act of just miming.
So since we're talking about Alien Monopoly, that's a transition to talk about Alien Predator, which I'm counting as one shared universe because it still kind of is. Because I'm actually surprised that Predator is doing as well as it is.
I was going to say, is that like the franchise that got one of the franchises that may have gotten actually better after the Disney acquisition?
I mean,
It depends on how you feel about Alien Earth, I guess, because that's still unspooling. So,
well, I've seen the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth, which I think are the only 2 that are out. I don't know when the 3rd one drops. What I appreciate about it is that it is doing an excellent job of capturing bits from especially the first film, since this takes place like I think 2 or 3 years before the first film.
And this has been like Harley's like pet project, because like he's really wanted to do this.
Well,
like this is like Legion. This is like the Legion level of pet project that he wanted to do this.
And because of Legion, I'm like going, okay, is all of this actually, probably just because of Legion, like, is all of this actually happening that I'm seeing on the screen? Because you know,
because people are also hallucinating on the show.
I mean, they certainly could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, because like certain things about it, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying this for anyone who hasn't seen it, but it's like, because I mean, the trailer shows a spaceship crashes on Earth.
Yep.
And there's critters on it. There you go. That's basically the premise. And we're like, so there's no quarantine protocol at all for something like this. There's no
late stage capitalism.
I mean, maybe, but I'm waiting for that Armageddon moment where they take care of it for me.
The spaceship crashing is fake news.
I just want it to be Critters from the movie Critters, so we can then get Aliens versus Predator versus Critters.
That would be amazing.
See, there you go.
That would be amazing.
Now you're thinking.
Just to have this big Katamari ball of critters just going after the xenomorph.
Wow.
No, I want the Prince of the Cosmos in on this action too. I really want actual Katamari Damacy versus Critters versus Aliens versus Predator.
Well, I am.
No, you can't.
And that theme music.
You can't-
And the theme music. You want the theme
No.
music as well.
No, you can't. The aliens are a hazard because of the acid that will mess up your ball. So you
Whoa.
have to avoid the aliens.
Whoa.
Stop
That's-
introducing
that's what I'm
game
talking about.
mechanics.
That's the kind of
That guy's got enough
vasectomy
to
you don't
do.
want. Keep that acid away from my ball. Duh. Every time now I can't. I don't know if you guys have seen Alan Tudyk talking about working with Diego Luna on Rogue One and how he was on these stilts and basically Diego Luna's face was like right at level with his balls, and so he does this impression of Diego Luna talking about his balls, which my balls. It's just find it, please. It's fucking hilarious. But no, I'm cautious about Alien Earth. I am interested that they did, Prey and then the animated Predator, which I still need to watch. And Badlands looks good. And I'm very curious about one of the Fannings being a killer assassin droid military thing. Because I think that's just great casting. So I'm again, like you said, I was surprised that Predator has come back.
Prey was a hell of a movie, though.
What's that?
Prey, the movie they put on Hulu, it was really good. I mean, it deserved to give it a bump.
Yep. So,
well, this is the thing. If you write good stuff, people, that's the thing. It's like for a while there, you had like Predators, which was weird.
Well, I will say about Predators, they had the opportunity to spin out something from that, and that was Yakuza versus Predator, and it never happened. And fuck them because of that, because that's all I wanted. After watching that movie, that's all I wanted. That's the movie where Lawrence Fishburne was in it. And then I was like, oh, thank God Lawrence Fishburne is here. And then when he left, I was like, no, come back. And then the movie just went to shit after that.
Well, that goes back to like what I was talking about, maybe streaming can be an idea lab.
Yeah.
Because they pitched that and they said, yeah, go do that because, that was low risk.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Wow.
low risk.
Wow.
Yeah.
Scott's talking about good writing. You're talking about low risk and medium to high reward. It's
Yeah.
it's almost like it's logical or some shit.
Now, I think the mistake they probably made with Prey was not putting it in theaters once they realized they had something.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Which-
kind of
Which
surprised.
might have been an issue there. But
Well, I'm kind of surprised they haven't like for the it's a year ago Prey came out, we're gonna put it in theaters for a weekend, that kind of thing.
I wonder if they had some sort of K-pop Demon Hunters bad deal where that wouldn't be a good idea. Because I don't know if you've heard about the deal that's come out with K-pop Demon Hunters, which
I've heard of K-pop Demon Hunters.
yeah,
And
it's fucking delightful.
okay, tell me, please.
So it's a movie that Sony Animation put out that is it's a riff on the Chosen One kind of thing where these three girls that form a K-pop band use music to form a harmonizing protection spell over the earth to keep demons from coming through. But as
you do.
but when it's time to strengthen it, I guess demons can kind of come through, because that's the one thing I kind of missed at the beginning of the film is why, if they're protecting us, why are there still demons coming through? Then the demons then form a boy band, a K-pop boy band, and so then they fight for the hearts and minds of people. And
Pause for just 1 second.
sure,
This sounds fucking amazing.
I'm
Please
telling
continue.
you. But
Please continue.
but the film, I found the film very charming and very fun. But Sony Animation, while they were working on it, this has just kind of come out in the last couple of days that they lost faith in it and thought they were going to lose their shirts. So they sold it, even though they spent, we don't know exactly how much they spent, but they spent at least $100 million developing the movie. And they
Holy
sold
shit.
it to Netflix. And that could be development and production, but because I haven't studied it. I was home today and saw some news, but they sold it to Netflix for $20 million. And so that means now they apparently sold it outright to Netflix, and Netflix is getting the profits now.
Yeah.
So it is the number one movie on Netflix for the last 7 weeks. It's almost the number one movie that's ever been put onto Netflix, and Netflix has the rights now to
Turn
approve.
into a franchise.
Yes, franchise the hell out of it. Turn it into
the whole thing.
yeah, and that's all Netflix is to deal with. They have to deal with Sony to do it, but Sony is never going to make a profit off of it, and Netflix stands to make billions.
and that's the same thing with what happened with Yellowstone, with Paramount and Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And also on top of that, Paramount, so there's all sorts of these, Beverly Hills Cop sequels and a couple of these Eddie Murphy movies that they sold off to Netflix and Amazon, where they just made them and lost so much money selling them as a fire sale because they couldn't put them in theaters. And that's what's happening.
I mean, what was it about this that made them lose faith? Because, I mean, I'm assuming they tested it and stuff. So I
guess they didn't show it to teen girls.
I would imagine Sony's perspective was that they couldn't. So I guess the market for anime films outside of Japan is at some point, because even anime films aimed at the theatrical market in Japan are not budgeted at $100 million.
Yeah, that's the other thing. What cost $100 million?
I'm guessing probably the music rights.
Yeah,
because you've got to secure those.
well, and
They used existing music?
no, it's original
know if-
music. It is original music, and they got they have an association with at least one K-pop band because they played Lollapalooza this year,
Yeah.
and played that song while there was a drone show going on over the number.
Yeah, I imagine there's some licensing involved with that. That is probably a large portion of the production cost.
I would
Wow.
hope so, because that would
that
be my
music.
first thing. Is like, what costs a damn much to develop what's essentially
I am astounded that, from what I understand, my limited view of production of television and film, if you actually had somebody come in and do an audit of how stuff was being run, you could save so much fucking money
Yeah,
by just bringing some sanity to it. The amount Warner Brothers will never appreciate the amount of money that James Gunn is saving them by forcing the scripts to be done first. I mean, just that sane bit of common sense alone.
because
Countless.
reshoots. Yeah, because with reshoots, you've got to reschedule the actors.
Yep.
You've got to reschedule the crew.
Yep.
In some cases, you have to rebuild the sets because you took them down
Yep.
7 months ago when you stopped filming.
Yeah, and even better than that, because you're changing shit as you go, because
Mhm.
it wasn't locked. The schedule is changing. You're changing costumes. You're changing production. So all
You're
this
changing the
ripple effect.
facts.
Yeah, you're changing everything.
Yeah,
So-
especially if you're
I think-
adding effect sequences.
I
Yeah.
think part of the thing that's also hitting studios, as you're probably hitting a lot of places, is when interest rates went up.
Yeah.
It became a lot more expensive to borrow. So before, you could throw a ton of money at it, you'd have to pay it back, but not at a huge return. Nowadays, it's like, no, it's not cheap to borrow as much anymore. So they're probably like, where are we going to get the money from?
Well, and
Well, that's
part
the
of
other
it
thing
too is. Oh, go ahead, Duffley.
Well, that's the other thing that's affecting even stuff like the games industry. That's why the money's gone out of the games industry too, which is, the interest rates. Everybody was going in, like Endeavor was like gobbling up all these studios, and Microsoft was doing the same thing. Sony was kind of playing along, but then the interest rates kicked up, and the money was drying out of the market, and that was when all the development. That was when everybody throwing money into developing video games went away, because part of the reason in the pandemic was that you had to pay for everybody being home to work from home, and that's even in the film industry, and a lot of this is still in recovery from the pandemic, where it's not too dissimilar, but kind of similar to the situation where when you're filming in production in England, where the unions and equity only has them work for certain hours. So if you're doing a night shoot, that's all they can do. You can't have another unit in the day or something like that, because that's not the way that the unions and equity there works. But it's the same situation where you couldn't have people there at certain times of the day, and then the strikes happened. So then you don't have anybody working. And that kind of limited production and projects being developed and things like that. So we're still kind of working our way out of that. And a lot of places are working their way out of that.
And depending on what contracts you have, something like a strike like that shut everything down could be incredibly expensive to keep a movie in production.
Yep, because you have to restart everything, or in some cases, in terms of continuity, in terms of actors, like if people grew beards or dyed hair, in certain cases, like if they literally changed their appearance for something else, or just because they wanted to, because they knew they weren't going to have to go back and film the movie for a while. Yeah,
You mean Superman's mustache?
I mean Superman's mustache.
Yeah, and that's how you lost Stephen Ewan as Sentry.
Sentry, yeah.
Which I liked the cat who played him, but I liked Stephen Ewan, so it would have been.
Oh yeah.
really nice.
I am so fucking happy he's doing well. It just it pleases me to no end. So okay, well that's Hasbro and Monopoly. What else do we need to talk about here? Oh, so I thought this was interesting. I just saw this today. It's about the new Narnia setup at Netflix. I don't
Oh,
know
the-
if you,
Oh
Gerwig-
yeah.
Gerwig Narnia.
yeah,
Yep.
that they, I like. I will say that when it comes to the books, the original order of the books is the order of the books. This whole, oh, we're gonna put it in chronological order because kids are dumb. Fuck that. Read the books in the original order, for Christ's sake. But the because we've done like what 2 or 3 Lion the Witch and the Wardrobes or something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
starting over with Magician's Nephew, which is chronologically is the first one, makes total sense because that's at least different. That differentiates you immediately from what came before.
Also, I'm
And-
not
Oh, I
too
was just gonna
sure
say,
about this, but I don't think the earlier versions are actually available anywhere for people to watch them other than physical media at the moment.
really.
I don't think so. I
Huh.
think the BBC one is maybe not available at the moment. I don't know if it's online anywhere.
Hmm.
Like, all you really need to do is just stop streaming other shit. Like, if the other shit goes away, then nobody knows where it is or how can we possibly watch these things. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think maybe Tubi. Maybe the films are on Tubi now. I think that they probably gotten to that point. But I don't think the BBC series are actually the old BBC series
Yeah.
are actually still out there somewhere, except in what you can find on physical media.
Right.
One of the lovely things about living in Portland is we do have a video store that was declared
Yeah.
a historic landmark. So
Nice.
it can't close. It's nonprofit and can't close. So it's just, I don't know. It's weird to me that it's become a novelty, but it's nice to have around.
That's
It's on the
very
other
cool.
side of town, and I don't go there very often, but it's nice to know it's there.
Nice to know it's there if you needed it.
So they have
It's there.
arrived at an order that she's going to do them in. Then is that kind of where we're getting at?
All I saw was that they're doing Magician's Nephew first.
Okay.
That's all I saw. And originally it looked like somebody was going to do Silver Chair, but then that changed when Gerwig came on board. So, and Meryl Streep is Aslan. So I'm like, okay, I'm on board for this. I'll try it. I'll try anything once. Most things.
So
twice.
they have a Lazarus pit.
Very nice.
Well, they do have a Jesus, so Jesus, our Lion Jesus could
Lion
resurrect
Jesus.
some people.
Lion Jesus. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's important. You got to have the Lion Jesus.
Just like it says in the Bible.
Of course.
Mhm. Of
The,
course.
the book of
Book of
book
Leo.
of Mufasa.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
yeah. That
Oh.
cat worked out a 3-picture deal. It's fine.
speaking of Jesus movies, I heard that they're making a new Jesus Christ Superstar, which I think is going to be fun.
Really?
Yeah, but it looks like Baz Luhrmann's going to direct it.
Oh, good God!
Ooh. And that could go either way.
So
It
it'll be
can
a,
go either way.
it'll be a beautifully
It can go all the
colorful-
ways.
Yeah, it'll be a
Oh,
beautiful,
it's gonna get
colorful, gay.
I want it to go gay. I want it to be a polycule.
Oh, it has to be.
I want a gay polycule.
Is
I
that,
will
I'm actually
say-
is
just
that
curious.
just a request, or is that based on the movie?
Well, it's Baz Luhrmann, so who knows?
Well, I mean,
All right. So what does he get John Leguizamo to do in this one?
Yeah,
Judith.
I don't know if he can sing.
Because I think the Baz Luhrmann expanded universe, I think, is connected by what John Leguizamo does in those films. So
Has he?
I think so, yeah,
I mean,
or at least in one of them. I know they just did the Hollywood Bowl thing that a bunch of people were in.
Well, he did a one-man show Yeah, I remember that because he was on the Tonys. He did some of it on the Tonys. He's written another play. Let's see.
It's funny. I stopped paying attention to Broadway for a while. So there's this period of time that I don't know shit, but I know what's playing now because I keep going to New York to go see shows.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I was just because if he can sing, he can be Judas. If he can't sing, he'll be Pilate.
Oh. Or King Herod. Herod's fun.
Yeah, but King Herod. They're generally speaking, King Herod. You want to get somebody who not only can sing, but is somebody who's going to. I mean, John Leguizamo is going to make a splash, but he's not going to make the splash as much as if you cast.
Did you see the Hollywood Bowl version that they have now?
I didn't see Stamos, but I saw Josh Gad.
Yeah. And
yeah.
I see my thing about I saw that Adam Lambert is Judas, and I saw the touring version where Corey Glover from Living Color.
Nothing's gonna compare to that.
Nothing's gonna. Did you see that, JJ?
I missed it. And it really pisses me off because I've never gotten to see Living Color. And so I almost had the chance to see that, but they sold out. They're actually Living Color's coming here soon, but they're playing a Black Music Fest, and I feel for some reason I feel a little conspicuous taking up space.
Dude, get yourself a Fishbone fuck racism shirt. You'll be fine.
Yeah. We are a very white. Yeah, we're a very white city. From growing up in the South, I just recently went to a hip hop show, and I will say it was so nice to be in an audience that was like roughly 50-50.
Yeah, because you never know, because you don't want to be the lone white guy at a hip hop show,
right? But you also don't want to be like in a room where all the but you don't want to be the only or excuse me, you don't want the only people of color in the room to be the performers.
Yeah.
So
well, okay, let me back up and say you also don't want to be the only old white guy at anything. So
yeah.
True.
I'm approaching that, so I'll just go ahead and say that now. You don't really want to be.
Yeah.
Why is that guy here? That's a little creepy. Why is he here?
There's a point. There's a point where you age out of that, and that'll be great.
Yeah.
When you're like the harmless old guy, then you can like go to punk shows and stuff again, and everybody will leave you alone. But there's a period where you are old enough to be creepy, and still dangerous. That's like the worst spot.
Well, no, I'll tell you this. There's and I figured this out so far. I figured this out, and I'm not quite approaching that point yet, but I have figured out, like, particularly in venues in town that have like the floor seating and then the balcony seating. If you're in the balcony seating, you start to notice the age of the people in the balcony, and you're like, okay, I am in the spot with my people now.
I hate balcony people, but I know it also sucks.
I just need a place to park my ass. I don't care if it's.
Well, that's also part of, and I aged out of being on the floor years and years ago because
Seriously.
I'm not standing 2 hours for any fucking money. I'm just not. I don't care how much I paid for the damn tickets. I'm not standing 2 hours for anything.
The thing that makes me feel the most conspicuous, though, it being on the floor at this point, is not only am I generally older than the rest of the people on the rest of the floor, but I'm usually about 5 inches taller than them as well.
Ah.
And so I'm the tall guy that stands out. And it's like, don't look at me.
And also,
It's just
and
more
also, do
noticeable
you
when
have-
like
and do you have to worry about the people behind you?
I know when the Idol show that I went to, when the two guitarists go out into the floor and the pit goes around them, that's where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm glad I'm up here and I'm not doing that.
The only show that I've ever seen a pit that scared me away from it was, believe it or not, Flogging Molly. That at least in Portland, that was the most
Oh no,
violent
I
show
understand
I've
that
ever
one.
been to.
That one seems about straight. I understand that one. Yeah.
The Motorhead audience was so much more polite than the Flogging Molly audience.
Nice.
Oh, it was that tour. Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't. Those were two different shows. Those were
Okay.
But they were different shows that were within. No, I saw Motorhead with Reverend Horton Heat,
Okay.
and I saw Motorhead with a terrible opening band called Nashville Pussy. Sorry if you like them, they sucked. But they were. But anyway, it was. I saw them within about a month of one another. Was
Oh,
the
okay,
reason I
okay.
put them together. I lost my train of thought there. Excuse me.
So you were saying about the yeah, you'll find going in groups does make it easier.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you can get the entire retirement center to go with you to like the to go to like the Pulp show, it'll be fine.
Yeah, but also if you have a concert beard, then it's a date, and
Yeah.
then you're okay. But it's important to take your beard.
We're not going to judge.
No.
Certainly not Emo Phillips. Emo Phillips is much older. Tony,
Somehow
you
I feel
okay?
like he would.
And still making that Michael Jackson jacket not really work.
Somehow I think Emo Phillips somehow just manages to type in a special font anyway, because you got to be able to hear that lilt.
Maybe
The
some
other day,
umlaut.
I woke up with a bloody nose, and I said, "Who put this in my bed?" So,
Sorry, that was diverging from something else.
yeah,
Diversions.
Welcome to the
Welcome.
show, Deathly.
yeah, welcome.
Oh, where have you been for the first 45 minutes of the show?
Oh,
Well, I was
Hope you
dealing with
survived the
Clutch's people
experience.
because they were calling to take the song back.
ah! Oh,
Yes.
that's true. Because
I-
Tuffley sold it to Netflix outright.
That was the Katamari Damacy theme I was humming the entire time.
Yeah, it was. Of course, if he sold to Netflix, they would have canceled it. So,
Or they'd make a lot of money off of it since Tuffley produced it. So it's,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
True.
We all know South
true.
Park does not cost that much.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to mention. South Park.
and another thing.
I mean, it's like that was the one thing that really surprised, because I remember seeing they did a documentary years ago about how they.
Well, we
put
showed the
together.
thing at the film fest with them making the short,
Yeah.
It was cardboard. Or
where it was
construction
like
tape.
yeah.
it was like color paper. It
Well,
was
no,
like,
this I mean the modern process with the computer.
Yeah.
But still, it's like
it cost $2 to make, Scott. Is what we're saying.
I know, but that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. But it's like
It costs $2 to make, and those two guys are all the voices. Like,
Yeah. They don't even pay Bill Hader anymore.
yeah, they don't pay Bill Bader. Isaac Hayes died.
Yeah. They
And- I still love the fact that when George Clooney begged to be a voice, they made him be the dog.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think will be interesting about South Park too is when people, because right now they're getting a lot of attention for taking a lot of political heat. At some point, they will remember that Matt and Trey, for everything else they are, I mean, they're brilliant, they're very funny, but they're also assholes. And as soon as they realize that people are thinking they're taking a political stand, they're gonna go hard the other way.
Well, I mean, it's also the same thing, but in a different way with like the West Wing and the Newsroom and Aaron Sorkin, right? It's oh yeah, but he's also an asshole. But people could figure that out from the scripts he was writing, because most of Aaron Sorkin's scripts are like, well, find the Aaron Sorkin Mary Sue character somewhere in here, and that's probably why. But it's the same thing. It's
Part of me thinks it'll be a while because there's so much to mine out of Trump and everything. It's going to be like, okay, let's have a look at he's done something now. So it's like,
Oh, Jesus
what
Christ.
the fuck?
wow, that is
My head is on a virtual pike.
well, that's the Marvel cover. That's the Marvel
Oh,
cover
Lord.
box.
Oh, Jesus.
That's
You're having way too much fun with this thing, John.
You just need the rest of the New
That's
Mutants.
what my wife says all the
You're-
time.
Oh,
You wish.
that was my.
You just need the rest of the
Oh,
New
no, no.
Mutants.
My disembodied head, for those of you listening, was floating. Oh, Jesus Christ! It's
There
there
it is
again.
again.
Why?
We can't get the
Why?
rest of the New Mutants. You already blamed Sunspots on everything. So
Ah,
Sunspots,
see,
Oh,
there we go.
not to mention you can't afford to get Anya Taylor-Joy back.
True.
And I know what you're thinking at home. Action Bronson lost some weight, but no, that was Widge.
What? Charles Bronson.
Action Bronson.
Oh. Not sure if I'm offended or not.
You shouldn't be. That was actually, he's cool.
Okay.
All right,
Anyway.
well, Toughly say he's cool, so
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's fine.
we've got it covered.
It's fine.
We didn't record it, but we got it covered.
Okay. That's
No, we didn't record it. Yeah. We'll just make up something I said earlier.
Oh, so the other thing I wanted to say, as far as shared universes go,
Ah.
is that I don't know that I'm a fan necessarily of the Twisted Childhood shared universe, of all the Winnie the Pooh horror movies and the Popeye horror. I'm just glad they exist,
Mm-hmm.
because I just want someone to take that and run with it, just to the consternation of all these fucking companies that extended the life of copyright way, way, way too much.
See, what is the combination between some of these, like Winnie the Pooh and Peter Pan and Bambi,
I don't
which
get
is
it.
in the
What are you going for there, JJ? I'm not following.
Well, Peter Pan, and I'm not even sure how this works. Peter Pan is has some kind of perpetual copyright in the UK with
With the Barry estate.
with
Yeah,
the
'cause
hospital.
Yeah,
It-
it goes
it-
to
yeah.
Children's Hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes to
Because
the
Alan
children's hospital.
Moore did that book a couple of years ago and ran into an issue with that.
Okay. But I assume that's just in the UK, because I don't think that would hold water here.
Well, it's weird because the UK has a different copyright policies than the US does.
Yeah.
UK doesn't have extensions,
hmm.
or at least not to what we have. Like
Well, because they didn't
like-
have. Well, so
like the Beatles' first couple of albums, if they hadn't re-released anything, if they hadn't done the remasters,
yeah,
which is why they do remasters, by the way, and
Yep.
re-releases, and anytime you wonder, hey, why is Disney coming out with a live action version of that? Because they need to recycle the copyright. But like the early Beatles recordings, if they hadn't put the remasters out, a couple of years ago that would have reverted into the public domain.
So wait a minute. So why didn't they just make a live action Steamboat Willie to recycle that instead of like paying Congress to extend all of copyright?
Okay, would you go see a live action Steamboat Willie?
Well, no
I
one went
wouldn't
to a
go
live
see
ac-
many of the live action things.
Yeah, nobody went to see a live action Snow White.
Well, no, but that's
I'm just
a
saying-
whole
saying.
different. That's a whole different thing, though.
I'm just saying there is precedent.
There's
or-
so many things with that, though. But
You could make a live action Steamboat Willie film for like $1.50, like kind of like Roger Corman with Fantastic Four. Like,
yeah.
God, we got to make this for the rights, and then they did it in like a week and a half or something. If all you're concerned about is the rights, it seems like it would be a hell of a lot cheaper to put that out than to just lobby Congress to.
Well,
Fuck everything.
even with Steamboat Willie, it's like it's that particular character design that's in public domain.
Yeah.
It's not like
Oh yeah,
I guess they knew because they weren't ever planning on going. Like, are we going to use that character design again? No. Well, I guess we could let it go. I suppose.
after extending it, I don't know how. It's
Yeah.
like 90 years now.
But
So-
yeah, I mean, the one they care about is the one that's on all of the merch and all of the things, and
Mm.
that was the one that I guess they felt was worth protecting.
Yeah. Ah. So
You really should do something about the copyrights on that. You're just gonna
On
let
what?
your floating.
my disembodied head.
Your disembodied head. I mean, there's already a franchise out there with a disembodied head coming out of a toilet that is a big deal. So
Fine.
we don't want people to be like superimposing your head on that. So
No, we don't. But Jesus fuck, make it stop. But yeah, so I don't necessarily agree with what it is. I'm glad it exists because I'm sure that's got to be annoying, especially when they were like, we did the Blood and Honey film, and now we're coming back because some more of the characters entered the public domain. I was like, that's fucking hilarious. Thanks, guys. Keep it up. I just want, as other things enter the public domain that are not even have anything to do with that shit, I want them to lump it into that universe as well.
Is the act of becoming public domain making them all serial killers?
That's very meta. That's very
There you
meta.
go.
There you go. I like it.
It could be the same phenomena that you saw with
It's
like
that center
like
spread in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which
how it used to be like Disney stars once they got out of Disney became like more sexually liberated. Maybe this is that version, except they become serial killers.
I want like a true crime documentary, a parody of a true crime documentary, looking at all these characters and them being serial killers, and analyzing that idea. Now, once they enter the public domain, the copyright was the only thing keeping them from becoming mass murderers. I think it would be hilarious.
No, copyright was the medication. They thought they could get away with like the generic, and it's not working.
there's like some satirical, like black comedy sort of statement you can make about corporations somewhere in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Do the slow motion Ken Burns reading of letters.
The only character that I don't really want that to happen to, is Superman, just because we've done power
Yeah.
corrupt Superman too many times.
We already have. It's called The Boys. We already have that out there,
Yeah, I do want to.
and we have Injustice, and God knows how many other. No, we don't. It's not original. That's the thing. Blood and Honey is fucked up, but it's also like kind of an interesting take. It's not an interesting take to do an evil Superman.
Yeah, I think the only thing close to that I want to see is Superman Red Sun.
Yeah.
Because that was a good one.
However,
They-
if you're gonna have a
They
DC
did an
character,
animated of that.
yeah, they did. But if you
I'm-
go for a Golden Age DC character, I'm gonna say the like red and yellow Alan Scott with the hood. That would at least be fun.
Wow. Wow. That could be fun,
Oddly
but it's very
specific.
dark. Yeah, oddly specific, JJ.
I'm just saying, it's of all those characters, that's the one that stood out to me that you could do something kind of interesting.
I
with.
always thought Alan Scott was a serial killer. That's on the box.
Yeah,
That's what you put on the box.
I knew it. JJ Hawkins.
I think instead you do like some really obscure character from like Golden Age, like, oh, it's the Red Bee.
Yeah.
And only people who like read All-Star Squadron probably remember that there was a character called like the Red Bee. So, but anyway, yeah, I saw something about that where I think I mentioned this somewhere, that they need to do an animated, basically take the Justice League Unlimited idea that everybody could be in the Justice League and extend it to the Justice Society, but do it back during World War II and call it what it was actually called, All-Star Squadron. I think an animated All-Star Squadron would be fucking awesome. Especially then, because you can cast pretty much anybody you wanted as the roles, because, you know, and then I don't know what, they show up as a cameo in Infinity Incorporated if you ever get to that. I don't know.
Well, they already did the World War II flashback in Creature Commandos, so you do have
Yeah.
that time space to work in.
Yeah, I don't know why. All-Star Squadron, I read that when I was a kid, like sort of starting with comics, and I just dug the hell out of that for some reason. I don't know why. But, well, is it what have we not covered that anybody wants to talk about?
Do we want to do that again? If I do the lame thing of saying, here it is, it's good. And then just leave it at that, and then
Yeah.
then it'll just be like this missing Nixon tapes thing that people
It'll
will
be like-
speculate everything that I said during it.
Well, we just have Tuffley go back in time from now, and then we put that bit with him saying it's good back then, and then we have Tuffley reappear in the present through the magic of editing.
Oh my god, now you've invoked a ghost.
Ha!
Oh, well,
Sorry, it's
You want
time
me
to
to
get
go
the nipples
put
out
back-
again.
you want me to go get the thing with the sequins again? Because, that's...
Wow. Well, no. So is there anything else we should cover before we move on to recommendations?
I don't think so. I think we kind of plowed through the economy of streaming. I think we've
Yeah.
kind of plowed through shared universes. I think we've plowed through. Yeah, I think we've done
Yeah,
that.
it's an interesting thing right now because people don't really know what to do with movies. The theater is succeeding to some extent and not in other ways. Streaming has not proved to be the boon that everybody thought it would be.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well,
I mean,
And the thing is, the thing that made broadcast work was advertising, but also the fact that studios were willing to sell product to each other, and that's kind of how the system worked. And then
Right.
everybody took all their balls and went home. And part of the problem is when you've killed the rest of the distribution system, when you've killed syndication and you've killed home video and you've killed foreign format sales, where else are you going to make your money if you don't sell it to somebody else? Because you don't have anybody else to sell it to. other than yourself.
We've
So
got
where are you
people
going to
sell things to?
And of course,
Yeah,
the
where are
thing
you-
is, they still haven't.
Where are you going to
learned
make the money
any-
from?
They still haven't learned anything because a lot of these people are like jumping into AI, even with the whatchamacallit, the writer's strike and everything. They're still going to try to do AI, to try to save money, and that's going to be a disaster.
Yep.
Because it's like with AI, it's like, I mean, you see all these other places. It's going to be such a bust when people realize it doesn't save you money.
Yeah.
It really doesn't, because it's going to.
I'm of two minds of that. I'm like, okay, well, that's everybody. That's the fear of it right now. But what if it just turns into the thing that happened with sampling, which is, okay, you're going to have a bunch of bad records that sample everything. Is that where this ends up, or you know what I mean, or is that? Does it turn into like Y2K, where it was? We understand why they did all the work and nothing happened, and that was the point. But then you also look at it and go, really? They spent all that money for that?
Well, but then again,
I mean,
as somebody who was making changes on the ground to prevent Y2K
exactly. That's what
at the time.
I'm saying. There was a lot of work to make
Yeah.
sure nothing happened, and that was the point. But then,
Right.
From the ground of like the general audience, it's like, well, did you really notice anything?
Yeah.
And I feel like are we making too big of a deal with AI, or are we appropriately afraid of it, or
No, I'm not afraid of it.
I don't
I'm
understand. Yeah,
it's the hype that people
Yeah.
are doing. That's what scares me.
the threat of the threat.
Right.
It's not even
Is that
just
what that is?
It's the fact that basically what I've seen come out of AI is, I mean, they call it slop for a reason. It's just not very good. And, like Scott was saying, it doesn't save you any money, because then you've got to hire somebody to go fix the slop.
And
Um,
and you're probably going to pay them less, but still, it's like.
I mean, I don't know. It's like,
But I think what
But
I'm
here's
wondering
the
is,
other thing. Go ahead.
I think what I'm wondering is, are we more worried about, because like AI slop is going to destroy itself, basically. If it's shit that's not good, then people are going to get tired of it.
Mhm.
It's like anything else. It's like synth pop. After a while, the novelty wears off, and 6 years later, you want guitars again. That's basically, is that where we're going, or is the fear more something like people selling their voices to corporations in perpetuity to be used? Is that more what we're worried about?
Well,
Or
no, because what I would say about that is no, because like James Earl Jones. Okay, a couple things.
yeah, that exactly that.
The James Earl Jones, that was with his consent. He obviously made the deal, and he basically, you're going to pay what, so my great grandkids never have to work a day in their life? Sounds fucking great. I'll sign.
The problem
But then-
is.
But then
The
I
problem
think
is-
well,
Hang
The
on.
well, my
problem
question is though,
Wait, hang on, time out.
if they
Time out,
get him
time
to
out.
say,
My job has failed.
"Your
Anyway, Scott,
job."
go ahead.
No, the problem is I've been hearing from like voice people and like narrators is like a lot of these companies are like saying as part of the contract, oh, you also sign over your voice.
Yeah, that.
And a lot of people are saying no, but the problem is these companies, they need the content. So they're like trying, it's like, them hoovering up all this copyrighted material. It's like they're trying so hard not to pay for it. Because one thing when the problem is, the other problem they have is like what we were talking about before with interest rates. The money isn't there.
Well,
So-
the other thing with content is, and this is part of the streaming economy, which is what makes it a little more difficult than music, because musicians don't have a union and they don't have paid minimums that they're supposed to get. It makes it much cheaper to have all music ever made on a streaming service, as opposed to, and I think we might have talked about this before, as opposed to having everything HBO has ever shot out on a streaming service, because you still have to pay those people, you still have to pay the unions, you still have to pay residuals for people who have deals for them. Whereas you don't have to do that with a band that made a record deal when they were 20 years old, and they don't get half the money from that anyway.
Right.
It's a different proposition, because musicians don't have minimums, they don't have unions, they don't have things things that are set in stone that you have to pay out, as opposed to every filmed product since what, the 50s, where you have to, where there are minimums and there are contract guarantees and there are at least some form of royalty or some sort of mechanism that, people are paid, even if it's like 2 cents per show.
Right.
But you get some sort of payout has to happen in perpetuity to this many people for as long as you have it. And that's kind of the difference.
Yeah.
And part of I guess the fear with like AI is with the voice capture is you can just get them to record a sentence and then they can make up. The fear is that they can put words in your mouth that you didn't say.
Right.
And that's always been kind of, yeah.
And not that you didn't say, and that you didn't get paid for. Most
Yeah.
important thing.
Yeah.
So
what they're asking, what these people they're saying, they're giving them a lump sum, and it's like, no, because this could last. Like it's not the same thing. I mean, with James Earl Jones, you can negotiate that. For a lot of these other guys, they can't.
yeah.
Well, I mean, what they were talking about in the SAG strike was, extras. Like they were talking about, extras being like scanned for like quote costume fittings or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah.
But then taking that scan and then just reproducing them in the backgrounds of scenes in perpetuity as part of their employment for that one day of work they did on a job.
Yep.
And that was a genuine worry. And
Because there's also the rare chance that you catch somebody who's at the beginning of their career,
yes,
who's doing day work, and then you end up catching a fucking Brad Pitt, and then he loses his entire could lose his entire livelihood.
and Brad Pitt is in our new Winnie the Pooh serial killer movie.
Yeah.
But it's just the other thing is like the money they're spending on all these data centers to handle all of this means that they're going to be pushing AI so hard because they have to justify all this money they're spending. Right. But if it really does flop like it could, because like I said, it's AI slop, most people hopefully
that's
will
kind
not
of what I'm wondering.
So there's going to be a massive crash.
That's kind of what I'm wondering. Is this ultimately going to lead somewhere, or are we just doing pets.com again?
I
suspect
Pets.com. That's kind of what I'm wondering.
I suspect pets.com.
Yeah, I suspect as well.
Is all we get a sock puppet? Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Because and part of the thing is, and here's a fun fact. I know for a fact that my books got scanned and are being used to train AI, which is fun because I'm like, pretty much, I think I put this somewhere out there that I maybe the reason that AI hallucinates so much is because they tried to put my stuff in there, which is a really bad fucking idea.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I hallucinate enough, and I wrote the fucking thing, so I can only imagine.
What did I see? That.
Yeah,
what did I see the other day?
And of course, you have AI becoming people's girlfriends and boyfriends and seducing 12-year-olds.
I mean,
Well, eventually it all gets to sex, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's.
See, there's where you want Brad Pitt. You want imaginary. You want virtual Brad Pitt. Then.
Warning.
The thing is, they don't need for these people. They don't need the visuals. It's the chatbots.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I mean,
but the
because
thing
if
is,
you add in-
also Meta is like, so it talks suggestively to 12-year-olds. Is that a bad thing?
Yeah. It's.
I mean, well, it's also Roblox. It's cutting out the middleman of exploiting 12-year-olds. Where you can just exploit the bots that are pretending to be 12-year-olds.
Exactly. You have them, and suddenly they're exploiting each other.
If a small percentage is suffering
It's
from AI
self-assured exploitation.
psychosis, which has become a thing now,
Yeah.
it's like, no, stop it. I know you want the next big thing. I know you want the iPhone again, but you're not going to make fetch happen.
It's not even that. It's just they want like the people who want to use AI to write they want something without having to work for it or pay for it. The people who are using AI to create art, they want something that you don't have to work for to learn how to be an artist,
Right.
and they don't want to have to pay for it. They just want.
Well, the problem is AI is probably going to have to pay for it, and they're going to put the cost onto consumers, and consumers are going to be like, am I really going to have to pay for this?
Well,
And the problem is, yeah.
It's like that people were saying, oh, they're coming back and saying, oh, hey, don't turn your AC like below 78 degrees. But the data center over there that's like sucking up all the juice, they could do whatever they want, but you should be warm. And people are like, fuck you. Crank it down.
That's okay. They're just going to reactivate all the dormant nuclear reactors, and then that'll fix everything.
Yeah,
3 Mile Island. They're reactivating 3 Mile Island. These people have no sense of history.
Oh, that means MTV can give away another house.
Oh,
never mind.
John, what were you saying? Okay.
Recommendations.
Oh yeah. So now that we've solved AI, we probably mosey on to recommendations. Who wants to go first?
Oh, I guess I could.
Oh, go for it.
Well, Rob's not here, so I'll throw out Pulp's new album called More. It's really good, and it's one of those things where when a band reunites after a very long time, really what you hope for is that, at least they sound okay. But, a lot of the material in More is, most of the material in More is very well written, and, even is kind of experimental for Pulp a little. So it's a very good album, and they're touring the States soon, actually. So if you get a chance, go see them. As far as video games, I don't remember how far back I recommended something, but the Capcom Marvel Fighting Collection is always a good place to go. It collects the Marvel vs. Capcom games plus X-Men Children of the Atom and the Punisher game, which I didn't know existed, and a couple of other things. And it's again, if you've got any of the Capcom Fighting Collection releases, they're very well made and very good. It's that series, and the Namco Museum series is always really good for retro stuff. And on that point, the Atari 50 collection is about to get a Namco edition DLC, which is going to include the I don't know if this is a bonus feature or a bug or both, but it's going to get the Atari interpretations of Namco games, including, yes, the 2600 Pac-Man, which was bloody awful.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
But it also,
Confirmed.
I believe the Miss Pac-Man, which is way better, is going to be there, and also the 7800 and 5200 interpretations of several of those games. So that'll be fun. And I believe there also includes a couple of Namco arcade games that Atari actually released in America. So I think Xevious is one of those. So that's included. The arcade version of
What about
Xevious.
fucking Xevious in forever.
The American version of that game is going to be on the DLC, which is going to be part of the. And they also have again the timelines, and they're going to have a couple of videos with Namco and Atari that kind of go along with the rest of kind of the documentary format of the Atari 50 game. So look out for that. I think that's in a couple of months that Digital Eclipse is going to add that. So looking forward to that.
I should probably get one of those retro Atari 2600s because that's the last controller I knew how to use for a console.
Oh
Yeah.
god, if you've
Yeah,
picked
there's-
up one lately, it is a horror. Horror is the word I'm going to use.
Yeah.
Those I mean,
Really?
yeah. Well, it's just now after having modern controllers, feeling how clunky that thing was back in the day, I feel like I'm going to rip the stick right off the damn thing.
Although
Clunky and
you could-
latent.
Ladies.
Although you could probably
Yeah,
find what the
very late,
VCS. You could probably find the VCS that they overproduced still out there pretty cheaper than those 2600s, and
Yeah.
they came with Bluetooth controllers, which will work on anything. So if you got an Xbox, you could make the joystick work on something else.
You know what? No, I take that back. The original Nintendo controller with just the AB button and the D-pad.
Yeah,
I could work that.
okay.
I could work
They
that.
do. I
Beyond that, I'm
believe there.
fucked.
I believe there's a couple of different Bluetooth iterations of that Widge for modern consoles, if that's where you want to go,
Yeah.
However-
including the one Nintendo made.
But like, what do I do about the triggers it doesn't have, and the second D-pad, and the tiny joystick, and the front buttons here, and then
All of the modern
buttons on the
consoles, you can
side?
remap everything.
Yeah, but if
Mhm.
I've only got 2 buttons to work with,
And there's a way you can do it.
And if you like that controller style and get a Nintendo, apparently Spirit of Halloween came out with a Nintendo game this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 2025, Nintendo or Spirit of Halloween put out a Nintendo cartridge that is a playable Spirit of Halloween themed game.
Mhm.
wow.
Now,
Okay.
is that different than the Spirit stores that open at Halloween, or is it the same thing?
No, it's the same, or maybe it is Spirit Halloween, not Spirit of Halloween. Sorry.
Basically, if you have an Atari 2600 like in storage somewhere that hasn't been used for a while, the Spirit Halloween game will take that over.
Yes.
So,
That's insane.
but yeah, I see. Bailey used to invite me over to play
Don't they have
Halo.
a CVS to take over? Anyway, go on.
Oh, yeah, there's that too. I just want to know:
Walgreens.
has there ever been a Spirit Halloween where they took over a location only to find that there was a storage room that like they didn't ever go into, and when they did finally open it, there was a Spirit Halloween in there as well? That's what I want to know.
It's the Beyond part of Bed Bath and Beyond Spirit World.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like that time that the joke about, oh, there was a Starbucks open in the restroom of another Starbucks,
It's actually the new boutique stores they're putting in Kohl's. The
There you
Kohl's that
go.
are left.
There you go. But yeah, no,
Right next to a Sephora, there's a Spirit.
They're right next to the
Wow.
Sephora and
Wow.
and the China shop.
But yeah, Bailey used to invite me over to play Halo on the Xbox just to laugh at me because I sucked so hard at it. I was just like, get me in the turret Jeep thing. Then I could do, otherwise I'm fucked. Anyway. So Tuffley, was that you?
Yeah, I was done.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. All right.
I enjoyed your Atari old
Thank
man rant.
Thank you. All right, who's next?
The
I guess
balcony
I'll
for you.
go.
Oh, JJ.
Speaking of records that have come out, I recently picked up Open Mike Eagle's new Neighborhood Gods Unlimited. I love Open Mike Eagle, and it was a fucking great concert, and it was the day that the new album came out, and it was delightful. Really, really good album. Also, I was a big Regrets fan. They have broken up, and Lydia Knight, the sort of the lead singer, sort of front person of that band, has put out their first solo album. It's a good pop album. I mean, it's not gonna change the world, but it's a good pop album. So if you're looking for just a decent pop record, a different kind of recommendation. If anyone is in Portland in early September, check out Speculative Theater's show of Pericles, because it's the first play I've been in for almost a decade. So
Nice.
Oh, sweet.
Hey.
Oh,
so I'm excited to hit the stage again. So that'll be
great.
fun. And then the last thing I was going to say, because we've been talking about movies and production and stuff, I have fallen in love with a podcast called What Went Wrong. And although it sounds like it's going to be a negative show, it's more, they take one movie at a time. They do their heavy research, and they talk about the productions of, like, the pre-productions and productions of films, and why budgets go out of control and all that stuff. I mean, the find, like, the one on the Dr. Dolittle from way back when, and you find out that part of the reason that movie had to spend so much more money than they expected is because Rex Harrison is a prick, and he used to put he used to take his yacht and block the light to keep them from being able to shoot, because he was pissed at some of his co-stars. So he would just get drunk on his yacht and then show up the next day hungover. But you find out these little things, like I'm listening to the making of the Shawshank Redemption right now, and it's really fascinating. So yeah, What Went Wrong? It's a podcast that I'm enjoying a great deal.
fun fact about Shawshank Redemption. Morgan Freeman's character was originally going to be played by Pee Wee Herman.
I know I'm doing narration. What do I do? That's backwards. I know you're doing narration. What am I? I just totally fucked that up. I'll own that.
All right. Thanks, JJ. Scott, what have you got?
Okay, I got a couple things. I participated in the Kickstarter for Simon. Okay, I can never remember this guy's name. Stalenham?
Say so.
Sure.
Stalenhag. He's the guy who does Tales from the Loop,
Oh,
Electric State.
yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He put out a new book. He has it. He originally had it as the title is Swedish Machines, but I looked it up on Amazon, and it's Sunset at Zero Point. To get it on Amazon, it's a pre-order. It won't be out until December, but I did the Kickstarter and I got the book, and it's amazing. It's got the great illustrations that he does. He does like retro futuristic, of a future where technology advanced in some ways, and basically tells stories of these kids who grew up where this secret weapons lab blew up and infected this area in a kind of stalker, roadside picnic kind of way.
Right.
But it's interesting how, even though they're next to this area of wilderness, they're still doing typical teenage shit, like getting drunk, going to music festivals, exploring their sexuality. Long story. But it's basically about, it's like the secrets of this area and the secrets that these kids have, that they don't talk to each other, even though they're hanging out, even though they are sharing things, they don't talk. So it's really, especially for him, he always does this, but I mean, that was one of the things that really hurt when I kind of saw bits of Electric State, was sort of the meditativeness that he has in his works is like just gone from the Netflix monstrosity that they made. The thoughtfulness that he puts into his stuff is just, I just hope he got a lot of money from the deal. That's all I can hope from that Electric State thing. But it's definitely worth picking up. All his books are amazing. I mean, like I said, the illustrations are amazing. The stories are sparse, but they're usually great things. Have you read his stuff?
Which one of us are you asking?
The Group.
Can't be asking me.
I have not. No.
Yeah, I've got
Can't say that I have.
Electric State. I have not read it, but I have it because it looked fucking amazing, and I'm familiar with Tales from the Loop because I know you talked about it before, and then there was the show. So, but no, I that is on my list to delve into.
Yeah, Electric State, unlike the movie, it is a lot more of a quiet apocalypse where
I love those.
Where you just see people like just plugged into like these massive VR headsets, and just this girl, because of an accident, can't log on, so she's sort of stuck out there going, well, might as well try to save my brother or something. So, okay, the next thing is actually kind of cool. I found this. I can't remember where I found this, and I ordered it. It's a Haro Tarot deck.
Okay.
And what's interesting about it is what they do is for like the major arcana, you know, like the Sun, the Fool, and all that, they do them like movie posters from horror cinema. So it's like
any particular era or just
for the movie posters, pretty much from like the early Silence to like now. Like
okay, so
the Fool is like A24 inspired,
okay.
but there's stuff like from like the early German impressionists. Then for like the suits, they do like I got the thing here. For the wands, they do like inspired by like the famous monsters of Filmland type of portraits that were done. They use those, that style. Okay. Then cups, they use 80s horror paperbacks.
Nice.
Yes, they are very nice. Swords, they do EC. They do a style of the EC horror comics.
Nice. Okay.
And then for pentacles, they do 30s pulp magazine covers.
Nice. Okay.
So, and I love I know this I'm sorry for your audio listeners, but this is the actual container it comes in.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And
it's like just a big clunky paperback is what it looks like, or hardback.
Right, but it opens up.
Yeah.
Let me again, sorry for the
and it looks like you know, like when you went into the library in high school and found where the Stephen King paperbacks were.
Yes.
That's what it looks like. It's exactly that. The Talisman is what it reminds. The Talisman paperback, the little thick one.
It's about that. It's about that right size.
Yeah.
Like what was it? The thing somebody posted about how, what was it? I'm gonna get this wrong, but it's like somebody should write a Goosebumps book about how Goosebumps books were never purchased for middle school libraries. They just sort of appeared already dog-eared in the libraries for people to find.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Well, that's because they were made with shit materials. They were made cheap. But like
Elastic Book Fairs.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Oh wow.
I'm like showing.
That's nice.
That's
nice.
I know it's like
it is exact. Dear listeners, it is exactly as Scott described it. Basically, we're looking at tarot cards that are exactly
sweet.
In the style.
Yeah.
And it's not that expensive. I want to say $25. I think.
Okay.
Is it major arcana and minor arcana?
Oh yeah, it's the whole set.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's not just major; it's the whole set. And like I said, they're done in, like I said, major arcana is like movie posters, and then each of the suits are in a different type of horror type thing. Like I said, one was like 80s paperbacks, one was like 30s pulp magazines.
Thank you. You were breaking up, so I missed. At least for me,
sorry. Okay, but like one of them is EC Comics cover inspired, and like the last one is like inspired like famous monsters of filmland type of things. So they use like the subject, like 2 of Pentacles or 3 of Cups, and then base like the image on that in that style. And they all have, and if you get like, and the booklet gives like little descriptions of like what they were about, and even gives like little backgrounds into like how horror tarot has been like the name used by a movie studio, a printing house, a name of a writer's group. You know, it gives this like great backstory to the whole thing. And it's really well thought out and really beautifully done.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's my 2 things.
Cool.
Ding dong. God, it's been too long since I've done this. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I don't have that thing even set up right now.
Fuck, I don't remember. It's been too
Theater
long.
of the mind.
sorry.
Imagine the blank.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Bad.
Just imagine Scott's dong, everyone. Thank you, Scott. All right, John, what have you got for us?
Hello, YouTube.
And there goes the monetization.
Oh.
All right, so 3 things. One,
Yes.
Andor. If you haven't been watching it or you haven't finished watching it, finish watching it, and then realize you could have just turned on the news and seen the same exact thing. So Andor, fantastic. It deserves the watch. The way that they tied the whole thing into just my wife and I immediately went and watched Rogue One again, and it's just seamless the way that it flowed into it. Also, I just finished listening to books, so I can listen to books now. I can't read them still, but I can listen to them, and I've been trying to do that more often. I just finished Stephen Fry's Mythos and the Odyssey. I still have to yet to listen to Troy, which is the middle one, but it's what wasn't available yet at the on the wait list at the library. Both are fantastic. I was just looking at the reviews for the actual book, and it's got like a 4.3 at least on the Odyssey. I can get how if you were trying to read it, it might be a little cumbersome, but listening to Stephen Fry narrate it is fucking fantastic.
I'm sure.
And of course he is the author, and he you can tell he kind of wrote in the way that he speaks. So if you don't know him as an author or you don't know him as a performer, then you could kind of miss some of the vibe that's in the books. But fascinating. He blends a lot of academic work into the telling of the tales. It's something that I had mentioned to my daughter when we saw Fantastic Four, that one of the things that's fascinating about Fantastic Four is that Tuffley has no opinion on it whatsoever. But the other thing that's fascinating about it is
It's good.
Is that they just go on in the world like it's just, this is how things happened, right? That all of a sudden there are the Fantastic Four. And listening to, I had never really kind of grasped the Greek mythology or never noticed in Greek mythology that things just happen out of nowhere. They just, boom, it just happens. There seemed to be
Tuesday.
Very little rhyme or reason as to why any one person is pissed off at another one person. At least initially or whatever. Anyway, but Mythos, fantastic, brings up, and the fun thing about Mythos is it starts with the lesser known parts of Greek mythology too, with Kronos and the gods prior to Zeus. So check that out. The last thing is something that I'm very embarrassed to admit, and I feel like JJ Widge and Tuffley will judge me. I'm not sure if Scott will, but
I won't have an opinion.
I just, even if you have an opinion, I'm going to cut it out anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's not being recorded. I just I mean, literally just like 3 weeks ago, discovered Ghost. I don't know how, the Swedish rock band. I don't know.
I was about to say the Patrick Swayze movie. You
Yeah, the
just
Patrick
now
Swayze
saw.
movie.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I
Yeah,
just
and
discovered-
that was my
Yeah.
initial thought too.
Whoopi
Wow.
Goldberg.
Oh, I will say, I will be with you. I discovered them just recently. So I am
whatever
with you.
Their new song that came out recently. I can't pronounce it because it's in Swedish.
It's I think it's Latin for crying.
It probably, or yeah, it could be
But, like,
Latin. That's true.
Lacrima or whatever it is.
Actually, it is Latin now that I think about it. But I don't know. I'm even gonna try and pronounce it.
I mean, they do the whole Pope thing, so yeah.
Yeah. So Toughly, JJ, Widge, did you guys know they existed? And if so, why did you not ever inform me that these
Oh yeah, I knew.
guys are straight up my alley?
I mean,
I wasn't sure if they were straight up your alley or not, because that's kind of people have varied opinions on that band. So I didn't. It's kind of hard to tell. It's a hard call.
Oh
God.
They're not.
Ghost is a personal choice.
let me
JJ
just
wants
go
to
ahead and
say-
recommend that John, you go find Anthony Vincent did a version of System of a Down's Chop Suey
Uh-huh.
in the style of Ghost, which is fucking
Yeah.
hysterical.
Okay, I do got.
I highly recommend it.
That's your recommendation.
Why are you writing it down?
Yeah,
You got it recorded.
That's one of my. It's
well,
one of my.
because I'm not recording any of this.
Oh,
No.
Just,
This is all
just
just
search
Nobody
for,
listens to this shit.
just search for
I
Chop
don't
Suey
listen.
Ghost, and you'll find it.
And while no one's listening, let me just point out 50 Days of Dragon Con, sir, good work. Just gonna say
Is
that.
Dragon Con what?
Good work.
It's a good work.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's
Just take
supposedly
the damn compliments.
It supposedly worked out. Thank you. It supposedly worked out all the bugs for this system, but apparently there's still one left.
Oh, that's all right. We do that.
We didn't care what you have to say anyway.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So JJ, did you know Ghost existed, or am I?
I knew they existed. I will admit to not being the most familiar with them.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they're like theater kids playing hard rock.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I will say
yeah, I think I heard them described as like, what if Kiss were theater kids?
fuck Kiss. I say as a-
Hey, I know. I'm just
I
saying.
say
That's a
someone who-
landmine.
who was a massive Kiss fan for many
He made it
years.
to Lieutenant in the
They're
end.
dead to me. Yeah, I was like pretty high in the army, but I will say that if I don't know if it's out there, but and I don't know everybody in Ghost's name in Ghost, but
Well, I think it's just really this Tobias. Tobias is really the only guy left.
Bias, yeah.
Tobias.
Okay, so
Tobias.
is he
And
the one that
rest of them
wears
are just role players, basically. They're just touring
It's-
band. Or
It's
something.
kind of
Okay.
like Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Well, he then sang with I don't remember everybody who was in the band, but it was like Vernon Reed and some other people that were played Bark at the Moon at the last Sabbath concert.
Yeah.
And of all, a lot of the tributes were odd and some were just real bad. That one stood out as like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. He also did. He was also at a. He sang.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody. Thank you very much. Bohemian Rhapsody. At some, I think it was a BAFTA Awards or something like that.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Which in front of members of Queen too, and did a very nice job. Did a very nice job. I'm always hesitant to compliment anybody on doing Freddie Mercury because it is such a chore to do.
Yes, we
but-
found out from the movie.
Yes, but the he did a fine job. There's very few people that can replicate Freddie Mercury in general.
And I don't
Yep.
think he really tried to. That's
no,
the
he
thing.
did
I
not.
think-
That is
yeah,
very-
that's the thing. That was what he did. Is like he did it in his own style. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I said that about.
I don't know if
people-
you can do that with the range that Mercury had.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody can actually do it.
the people that do Queen covers, if they try to replicate Freddie, it normally fails.
Well, yeah. I mean, the only
but-
one who probably would do it is like that blue alien from Fifth Element.
Element.
Who else has the range?
So
Nice.
anyway, those are my 3 suggestions. I'm sure you can pick up Ghost on Amazon CD because they've been around. They've been around since 2006. They've been around almost 20 years at this point.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't know.
I really
how,
like what
again,
Demi Moore did with them.
You know, it's funny. I had seen their logos like 1,000 times,
Mhm.
and it never registered to me. What I always thought they were based solely on their logo, which means you can never judge a band by its logo, I guess. I always thought they were like sort of like a industrial metal band, and it wasn't until just recently, and then of course now my algorithm is feeding all this stuff to me. Oh, they've been on Jimmy Kimmel like 5 years ago, and it's like, oh, what's going on? So yeah, but the
I think the
80s,
thing
it's
is,
sort of an 80s hair band, heavy metal, synth sort of combo. It's a really interesting.
But they
combination.
have this like deep lore
Yeah, they have a whole deep
about
lore,
the
yeah.
bear. Yeah. But the other thing is like the guy who does it did come from like Swedish death metal.
Yeah, he.
But
Yeah.
he had this idea, but it kind of segued into like
The story I heard around it was basically it was him and 2 other guys were sort of sitting around talking about it, and he had a kid, and he'd been kicking around for different bands, and he was sitting there going, I have a kid, I have to actually feed this kid. And so he figured out a way to sort of blend his theater roots and his love for things like Alice Cooper and that sort of theatrical rock, and made something out of it. Again, and the original tip off was somehow I was searching for something in Tampa, and his cover of Mary on a Cross, or not, it's not a cover. Sorry, the performing Mary on the Cross, and it was in Tampa, and I'm like looking at it, going, the whole entire amphitheater is filled. Wait, how did I miss this? This was like 2 years ago. How did I completely miss? That's when I realized that when you get over 50, you're too damn old.
Go on.
You're too damn old, is basically what it was. Hey, look,
See,
I don't know if I gave up on even
you
keeping my
gotta
hair
get
around anymore.
you gotta get young friends.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of doing Faust. I get to hang out with some young people and I get some of their shit. So I am still not completely irrelevant.
Everybody, please take that in context.
Shut the fuck up.
I just want to make
And
sure.
it doesn't
I'm
even work
defending
because
you. I'm defending
No.
you.
no. The thing is, they're all lesbians, so it doesn't even
So they don't count.
Oh.
They don't count.
I mean,
Sorry,
JJ
that's been
melted.
redacted, Jerry.
JJ melted.
I
That was
held
wild.
back a lot there. And
I feel like I know.
I believe there was a problem with JJ's microphone. We're gonna have to AER that later.
All right. So anyway, go to needcoffee.com/Amazon. I'm not even going to go with a fancy thing there. Just do it.
Well, John, as always, is correct. And if you go to needcoffee.com/Amazon, like you were going, you wind up going to the front page of Amazon like you just went to the front page of Amazon because that's what you did. It's like the reflexive axiom. It is what it is. So when you do that and you buy stuff, because I know we are approaching the gift giving season that is Halloween, we get kickbacks for all of that stuff.
You don't get gifts for Halloween?
you got them.
What in the
You got
world?
John
You
again.
did it. You did it again, dude.
I did? What I
As soon as I put my cup to my... Anyway, never mind. You made me blurt.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, so But yes, if you do that, we get kickbacks. We appreciate it. Help keeps the lights on, because as someone said, we are currently in the death throes of capitalism. So my recommendations, real quick. I've been watching a lot of people going into the Criterion Closet and recommending
Oh
things.
yeah,
It's
I've been seeing
of them-
those.
some of them are actually really great. But so and looking at stuff that was coming to the Criterion Collection, the Breakfast Club is coming.
Really?
With a
Yeah.
Judd Nelson, Anthony Michael Hall commentary, with a bunch of other stuff. Firewalk with Me is coming to the Criterion Collection,
Well, that makes sense.
and
Which cut of Firewalk with Me?
hang on, let me look. I got it
Is
up right
that
here.
the director's cut version, or is that
It's
the
a
theatrical release?
It says 4K digital restoration, blah 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 blah, supervised by David Lynch. So I'm assuming, but you also have the missing pieces on here.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay. So, but also
not
returning
that it helps make any sense, but there it is.
returning to print is This Is Spinal Tap.
Yep.
Which I think has been out of print for freaking forever.
I wonder why.
And that's coming to Blu-ray because, of course, you have the sequel.
The end.
happening.
The end continues.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Yep. So, and there are, count them, 3 audio. This might be just the Laserdisc over again, but 3 audio commentaries, one of which are the members of the band. So,
By the way,
in
side
character.
note.
Yes.
Side note. The Elton John, the new video they've got with the Stonehenge performance with
yeah.
Elton John
it's pretty
is
crazy.
amazing.
And the only other thing I want to mention is Dead Channel Sky, the new Clipping album, was already like my favorite album of the year thus far, and might wind up being my favorite album of the year. But they're overachievers, so they're putting out a plus version next month, and they've released 2 songs that are going to be added to the plus version. They're both fucking excellent. So, but yeah,
I'm a little annoyed about that.
what? But,
I'm a little
they're
annoyed that
excellent?
they put the deluxe version out 2 months after they put the album out. It's fine. They got to make money, but I'm just
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I
deluxe
like-
editions.
I'll buy it
Capitalism
twice.
again.
I'll buy it twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I highly recommend that album. You could go and find it wherever. But yes, so that brings us to the end of a very special episode of Weekend Justice, where
Most of which
you
was
know,
recorded.
so, yeah, which we recorded most of. But yes, since Dragon Con, what's that?
I was gonna say, have fun with that, Witch. Have fun with the
Yeah.
setting process.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. That's gonna be good. I love it. But yeah, because Dragon Con looms on the horizon, it felt like the right time to do a Make the Bad Men Stop for 2025. And I hope that you learned something. Probably a lot of things you didn't want to know. And I hope that through the magic of ECT, you can have it removed. But yes, we've just gone through 3 hours of nonsense and listening to how studio executives are ruining everything that you love. So it's probably a good idea to just have a nice little drink and go stare off into the middle distance for a while. I think that's something the 3 of us are going to do as we think about the lessons that we could learn from K-pop. We should all say K-pop.
K-pop.
K-pop. Oh,
But
JJ
no.
got split.
What the heck has happened here?
What?
Good night.
Wow.
JJ was split.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was split. Oh,
it's because I couldn't figure out exactly when to say K-pop, so I just
oh well, you know,
kept quiet and got split in half.
really. We're all
When
trying to
can't
figure out
you?
when to say K-pop. Yeah, exactly. There is that too. But anyway, It's just not my floating head.
Good Crisis on Infinite Need coffees.
We now,
I know,
summoned,
seriously.
we now summoned it.
Crisis on Infinite Crises.
I'm not sure how we went into the Fibonacci spiral there, but that was pretty amazing.
If any of those people don't do the podcast in 8 months, Clutch gets the song back. Is that how that works?
That's how it works. All right. Well, that's it then. We're done. For whatever it's worth.
Boy, are we done.
Why are we done?
We
We're just
sort
waiting
of
for John to
sadly
take
went-
another sip of something so I can try to kill him again.
Also, John, thank you for using the library.
Oh yes, of course. It's the only. Well, I mean, technically, I'm just using the library for my house, but okay.
It still counts.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So there's that.
All right.
Who's going to
There's
Dragon
that.
Con?
I am actually. Am I the only one on here that's actually going, or
I
John?
am.
Are you going this year?
I'm going
You are
this
going
year.
this year. Okay.
I'm
And,
actually
and
in
seriously,
production.
50 days is awesome as usual. So just saying.
Thank you. I
I-
appreciate that. That's.
I don't understand how you get it done. You're like a fucking machine.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I John, I'm actually going
Oh, cool. So
because I'm kind of here. So I'm already here. So
Scott, you going?
I'm already.
Not this year. Hopefully, I'm going to try to do it next year.
Next year
And
is
ho-
their 40th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm already here, and to my constant surprise, they keep letting me back in. So
Mm.
Yeah, it's 40.
See-
Is that the gelatin anniversary? I don't remember.
But who knows?
Yeah.
But hopefully,
Yeah, but
I'm
my
I think
kids
hoping-
it's the,
my kids can't celebrate it because it's animal parts and everything. So
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
I think it's Jiffy Pop. I think it's the Jiffy Pop anniversary.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
then
all
I
right.
will do
then.
that.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
The ingredients.
no butter.
Well,
No. They're just vegetarians. They're not. Vegan.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
fine.
Yeah, so that's fine.
We do exist.
We
What?
vegans
People
exist
who eat butter?
or vegetarians
I-
exist.
Vegetarians that can
Oh.
eat butter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did
Yeah.
that. I shouldn't have just went to vegan. That's true.
It's assumptions, Scott. That always does it
I
for
know.
everyone.
I know that was bad. That was bad on me.
But yeah, I keep telling myself I'm going to go back to Dragon Con every year, and then this year I was again kind of thinking about popping in for just maybe even a day, but then it turns out that Dragon Con weekend is production week, so I cannot get out of
Yeah.
rehearsal.
But you're gonna be on
Oh.
stage.
Yeah.
See, what I'm hoping next year. Oh, good God! I'm hoping next year I could hopefully swing it so I can take my boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh.
bearing the
Okay.
lead, are we?
Yeah, really.
No. We haven't had
Oh,
a chance
is that
to.
a euphemism?
No.
Oh God. All right.
Oh, I just realized I have 2 widges. That's why I'm like,
What?
Oh God.
I have
You have
2
two of them?
widges. I have widge 1 and widge 2.
What?
Oh, that's
Never mind.
terrible.
Don't worry. He's certainly not coming to take your place, Widge. We know you're Widge Prime.
Which prime?
Yes.
But what
So
is
you know
it?
that thing you agreed to at the beginning of this, way back long ago?
Did you
That's okay, I
really?
I have the spark.
Clutch decided to
you-
call in their contract for your soul.
Well, they got a shit deal on that. I'll tell you that much.
Joke's on
All
you.
right.
They don't even want the song back.
they just want the soul for whatever that's worth. Maybe like that and a $1.50, and you could get a cup of coffee. Anyway,
$1.50? Ah!
If you just get coffee, come on.
no, not coffee worth drinking. I'll tell you.
Well, that's true.
All right, I gotta pee, so I'm gonna go
All right.
away.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Bye.
Thanks, John.
Bye.
Hey, it's split in half.